Today, we unravel the tragic and twisted tale of Jacob Rasmussen, a young man whose life was cut short in the opulent city of Naples, Florida, in August 2016. Jacob Rasmussen was a 20-year-old massage therapist living in Naples, Florida. Originally from a small town in Minnesota, Jacob had moved to Naples seeking better opportunities and a warmer climate. He was known for his good looks, athletic build, and charming personality, which quickly made him popular among his clients, especially of older women. Jacob had a knack for making people feel special, which helped him build a loyal client base. Jacob's charm and good looks also brought him into the world of sugar babies, where younger people enter into sexual relationships with older, wealthier individuals in exchange for gifts and financial support. Jacob had several sugar mommies, but his primary one was Veronica Hayes, a 59-year-old astrologist. While Jacob enjoyed the benefits of these relationships, they also inevitably brought complications and tensions. In the days leading up to his death, Jacob was excited about his future. He had recently received a generous gift from one of his clients, an Audi SUV, which he proudly showed off to his friends. He was also planning a trip to Disney World with some of his friends, something he had been looking forward to for months. Jacob's Instagram was filled with posts about his plans, from pictures of his new car to countdowns to his Disney trip. Despite these complexities, Jacob remained optimistic and full of life. He was known for his infectious smile and positive attitude. Friends and clients alike admired his ambition and drive. Jacob's life, filled with dreams and plans, would be cut short, though, in a tragic and shocking way. On the morning of August 12, 2016, Jacob Rasmussen's neighbor, Linda Martino, started her day like any other. Linda was a 95-year-old retired school teacher from Brooklyn who lived next door to Jacob in their Naples, Florida apartment complex. She often chatted with Jacob and had become concerned when she noticed his car, a shiny new Audi SUV, hadn't moved in 2 weeks. Linda thought it was odd because Jacob usually had a busy schedule. Around 9 a.m., Linda decided to check on Jacob. She knocked on his door but got no answer. Worried, she used the spare key Jacob had given her for emergencies. As soon as she opened the door, she felt something was wrong. The apartment was too quiet, and a faint, unpleasant smell filled the air. Linda called out Jacob's name, but there was no response. She walked through the living room and into the hallway. When she reached the bathroom, she saw a horrifying sight. Jacob was lying face down in the toilet, naked. His head was submerged in the water, and his body was limp. Linda screamed and backed away, her heart racing. Shaking, Linda ran back to her apartment and called 911. Her voice trembled as she explained what she had found. "I think my neighbor is dead," she told the operator. "He's in his bathroom, and it looks like something happened to him." The 911 operator stayed on the line with Linda, trying to keep her calm until the police arrived. Linda was in shock, pacing back and forth in her apartment and glancing nervously at Jacob's door. She couldn't believe what she had seen. Just a few days ago, Jacob had been full of life, talking about his plans to visit Disney World and showing off his new car. Within minutes, the Naples Police Department arrived at the scene. Officers secured the area and began their investigation. Linda was asked to wait outside while the police did their work. She sat on a bench, shaking and holding her head in her hands, trying to process the tragic event. News of Jacob's death quickly spread through the apartment complex. Neighbors gathered outside, whispering and speculating about what had happened. The local news soon picked up the story, with reporters arriving to cover the shocking discovery. Cameras captured the scene, showing the police presence and the concerned faces of the residents. Jacob's sudden and violent death left everyone in shock, especially those who knew him well. He was young, full of potential, and had a bright future ahead. Now his life was tragically cut short, and his friends and family were left to mourn the loss. The Naples Police Department arrived quickly at the scene after Linda Martino's 911 call on August 12, 2016. Detective Samuel Jenkins led the investigation. He was known for his attention to detail and had solved many high-profile cases. His partner, Officer Karen Blake, was known for her sharp intuition and calm demeanor. As they entered Jacob Rasmussen's apartment, the officers immediately noticed the eerie silence. The living room was tidy, with no signs of a struggle. A flat-screen TV was on the wall, and a few magazines, including the latest issue of GQ, were on the coffee table. The apartment looked normal, but the unsettling smell hinted at something more sinister. Detective Jenkins and Officer Blake moved cautiously toward the bathroom. where Jacob's body was found. The bathroom was small with white tiles and a modern shower. Jacob's naked body was slumped over the toilet, his head submerged in the water. There were no visible signs of a break-in, and nothing seemed out of place, but the scene was disturbing. Jacob had been drowned. His head had been forced into the toilet, and there were bruises on his arms and neck, indicating a struggle. Detective Jenkins noted the position of the body and the bruising pattern, suggesting that Jacob had fought back against his attacker. The bathroom itself was clean, with no blood or other obvious evidence. The police began their methodical investigation. They took photographs of the entire apartment, collected fingerprints, and searched for any possible clues. They found a set of kitchen knives, but none appeared to be missing. Officer Blake found Jacob's phone on the kitchen counter. It was a new model, an iPhone 6S, and it might hold valuable information. She carefully bagged it for further analysis. Detective Jenkins and his team interviewed neighbors, including Linda Martino, to gather more information about Jacob's recent activities and any potential visitors. Linda mentioned seeing a few of Jacob's clients come and go, but nothing seemed unusual. She also noted the new Audi SUV Jacob had received recently. The forensic team arrived and began their examination of the body and the apartment. They used luminol to check for traces of blood, even in areas that appeared clean. They also checked for hair, fibers, and other small pieces of evidence that might have been left behind by the attacker. As the investigation progressed, the police began to piece together a timeline of Jacob's last hours. They hoped that his phone and the security cameras in the apartment complex might provide additional clues. The clean state of the apartment and the lack of obvious evidence suggested that the killer had taken great care to cover their tracks. The tragic scene at Jacob's apartment marked the beginning of a complex investigation. Detective Jenkins and Officer Blake knew they had a difficult case ahead of them. They were determined to find out who was responsible for the young man's untimely death and bring them to justice. The first suspect in the investigation was Veronica Hayes, a 59-year-old astrologist. Veronica was well known in Naples for her larger-than-life personality and her impressive client list, which included several celebrities. She lived in a lavish mansion decorated with exotic crystals and zodiac signs. Veronica had a reputation for being generous, often gifting expensive items to her friends and clients. However, she was also known to be possessive and obsessive, especially in her personal relationships. It was no secret Veronica had been in a sexual relationship with Jacob Rasmussen, acting as his sugar mommy. She showered him with gifts, including the 70-inch flat-screen TV found in his house. When the police first questioned Veronica, she was calm but visibly upset. She admitted to being deeply hurt when she discovered that Jacob had been seeing other women. Despite her feelings, she denied any involvement in his death. Detective Samuel Jenkins and Officer Karen Blake conducted the interrogation. They were careful and thorough, asking Veronica about her whereabouts on the night of the murder. Veronica claimed, like a typical Virgo, she was at home, alone, reading the latest issue of Astrology Today and meditating. She insisted she had not seen Jacob for several days before his death and respected his need for privacy as a Scorpio. The police dug deeper into Veronica's background. They found that she had a history of intense relationships, including 3 failed marriages, that often ended badly, something she readily admitted to, saying she couldn't help it as someone with their moon in Cancer. Former friends and clients described her as charming but controlling. Several mentioned that Veronica Cancer moon could make her very jealous, especially when she felt betrayed. This gave the police a possible motive for her to harm Jacob. During the interrogation, Veronica's demeanor shifted. She became more defensive and agitated, particularly when asked about her relationship with Jacob. She accused the police of unfairly targeting her because of her wealth, high-profile lifestyle, and belief in astrology. Despite her protests, the police continued to press her for details. The police also examined Veronica's phone records. They found multiple calls and text messages to Jacob in the days leading up to his death. Some of the messages were affectionate, while others were increasingly profane, vicious, desperate, and accusatory. This evidence painted a picture of a relationship that was unraveling, with Veronica struggling to maintain control. Despite the mounting evidence and Veronica's increasingly erratic behavior, there was no direct proof linking her to the crime scene. The police needed more concrete evidence to make an arrest. As the investigation continued, Veronica remained a key suspect, her actions and history keeping her under close scrutiny. The second suspect the police investigated was Bryony Mitchell Keynes, a 68-year-old Australian millionaire with quite the shocking backstory. Bryony had recently moved to Naples after facing legal trouble in Australia after a newspaper published allegations showing Bryony allegedly trafficking asylum seekers to work in her restaurant's chain for, quote, subhuman wages. Known for her outgoing and vivacious personality, Bryony was also fiercely protective of her friends and had a temper that could flare up unexpectedly. Bryony had started a sexual relationship with Jacob Rasmussen shortly before his death. As another of his sugar mommies, she was generous, giving him expensive gifts, including the Audi SUV he received just before he died. When the police questioned Bryony, she was cooperative but guarded. She acknowledged her relationship with Jacob and expressed shock of his death. Detective Samuel Jenkins and Officer Karen Blake led the interrogation. They asked Bryony about her activities on the night Jacob was killed. Bryony stated she had been at Naked Masquerade Ball at the Naples Grande Beach Resort, mingling with other wealthy attendees and enjoying the evening. She provided the names of several people who could confirm her alibi, including local business owners and socialites. During the interrogation, Bryony remained composed, but her demeanor shifted when asked about Jacob's other relationships. She seemed irritated and defensive, insisting she had no idea about his involvement with other women. The police found her reaction suspicious, as it hinted at possible jealousy and a motive for harming Jacob. Detective Jenkins and Officer Blake searched Bryony's home for any evidence linking her to the crime. They found several expensive gifts she had planned to give Jacob, including a jet ski, an air hockey table, and a PlayStation 4, indicating her deep investment in their relationship. In addition, they saw several large withdrawals from her bank account in the weeks leading up to Jacob's death. While this alone was not incriminating, it suggested she was heavily involved in Jacob's life and willing to spend significant amounts of money on him. They also discovered a series of text messages between Bryony and Jacob. The messages started flirty but became more intense, with Bryony expressing frustration over Jacob's lack of commitment. Despite Bryony's cooperation and strong alibi, the police remained suspicious of her involvement. Her intense feelings for Jacob and possible jealousy provided a motive, but like with Veronica Hayes, there was no direct evidence linking her to the murder. As the investigation continued, Bryony's actions and connections to Jacob kept her under close watch by the authorities. The third suspect in the investigation was Marcus Dean, a 21-year-old who had been in a rivalry with Jacob Rasmussen. Marcus was known in Naples for being competitive and ambitious. He was also a sugar baby, catering to wealthy, married couples bored with their humdrum sex life. Marcus was driven to be the best in his circle, always striving to outdo his peers in sexual performance and number of sugar parents. His personality was described as hot-headed, and he had a history of getting into arguments and fights, often fueled by alcohol. The police questioned Marcus shortly after Jacob's body was found. Detective Samuel Jenkins and Officer Karen Blake led the interrogation, focusing on the nature of Marcus and Jacob's relationship. Marcus admitted that he and Jacob had been rivals, both vying for the attention and gifts of the same wealthy women. He described their relationship as tense but insisted it was all part of the competition. On the night of Jacob's death, Marcus claimed he was at a local bar, Patty Murphy's, with friends, celebrating a recent orgy request with some wealthy couples. He provided the names of his friends who could confirm his alibi. However, Marcus's reputation for getting into fights after drinking raised suspicions about his possible involvement in Jacob's death. The police dug into Marcus's background, finding numerous reports of altercations with other sugar babies and clients. Many described Marcus as aggressive and quick to anger, especially when he felt threatened or disrespected. This temperament, combined with his rivalry with Jacob, gave the police a potential motive for murder. During the interrogation, Marcus initially remained calm, but became defensive when asked about his whereabouts and relationship with Jacob. He denied any involvement in Jacob's death and accused the police of trying to pin the crime on him due to their rivalry. His agitation grew as the questioning continued, suggesting he was hiding something. Detective Jenkins and Officer Blake searched Marcus's apartment for evidence. They found a few items linking him to Jacob, including a gold chain that Jacob had posted about on social media, saying it was a gift from a client. The police also discovered a series of text messages between Marcus and Jacob. The messages revealed escalating tensions, with Marcus accusing Jacob of stealing his clients and threatening to teach that bleep a bleeping lesson. The police also reviewed security footage from Patty Murphy's on the night of Jacob's death. The footage confirmed Marcus's presence at the bar, but there was a 2-hour gap where Marcus was unaccounted for. This window of time raised further suspicion, as it was enough time for him to commit the crime and return to the bar. Despite the mounting evidence and Marcus's suspicious behavior, there was still no direct proof linking him to Jacob's murder. The police continued to keep Marcus under close watch, hoping to uncover more information that could either confirm or clear their suspicions. On August 18, 2016, 6 days after Jacob Rasmussen's body was found, the Naples Police Department received a breakthrough. The day was hot and sunny, with temperatures soaring into the mid-90s. Detective Samuel Jenkins and Officer Karen Blake were in the police station when they received a call from a local pawn shop owner who had found something unusual while inventorying recently pawned items. He told the police that a gold bracelet, inscribed with the initials JAR, had been pawned 2 days before Jacob's death. Jacob had posted a picture of this same bracelet on his social media, saying it was a gift from a client. The police immediately headed to the pawn shop, located on 5th Avenue South, a busy area filled with shops and restaurants. At the pawn shop, records showed that the bracelet had been pawned by Marcus Dean. This new evidence placed Marcus at the center of the investigation once again. Detective Jenkins and Officer Blake were determined to dig deeper. The police brought Marcus back in for questioning. This time, they confronted him with the evidence of the bracelet. Marcus's demeanor shifted from defensive to visibly nervous. He stumbled over his words as he tried to explain why he had the bracelet. Marcus claimed that Jacob had given it to him as a gift, but the police were skeptical given their contentious history. Detective Jenkins and Officer Blake also reviewed security footage from the pawn shop. The footage clearly showed Marcus entering the shop and pawning the bracelet. The timestamp on the video matched the date on the transaction records, leaving little doubt about Marcus's actions. The police used this footage to challenge Marcus's story further. The police also re-examined the security footage from Patty Murphy's bar on the night of Jacob's death. They discovered that Marcus had left the bar for 2 hours, providing him with enough time to commit the crime. This new evidence painted a clearer picture of Marcus's possible involvement in Jacob's murder. With the bracelet, the threatening text messages, and the suspicious gap in Marcus's alibi, the police felt they had enough to proceed. Detective Jenkins and Officer Blake presented their findings to the district attorney, who agreed that the evidence was compelling. The police were now focused on gathering more information to strengthen their case against Marcus. They continued to interview witnesses and piece together the events leading up to Jacob's death, determined to bring justice for the young man whose life was tragically cut short. On August 22, 2016, the Naples Police Department made a breakthrough in Jacob Rasmussen's murder case. Detective Samuel Jenkins and Officer Karen Blake had gathered enough evidence to identify the murderer, Veronica Hayes. Veronica, a 59-year-old astrologist, was known for her extravagant lifestyle and powerful personality. Despite her public charm, she had a dark, obsessive side, especially in her relationships. The investigation revealed that Veronica's obsession with Jacob had grown dangerously intense. She was furious when she discovered that Jacob was seeing other older women for sex and receiving expensive gifts from them, including the Audi SUV from Brian E. Mitchell Keynes. Veronica's jealousy and anger boiled over on the night of August 1, 2016. On that night, Veronica confronted Jacob at his apartment about his new car. An argument erupted, and in a fit of rage, Veronica drowned Jacob in his own toilet. She forced his head into the water until he stopped struggling, leaving bruises on his arms and neck. To humiliate him further and make it look like he drowned himself, she stripped off his clothes, making the scene appear even more degrading. Detective Jenkins and Officer Blake pieced together the events through witness statements, security footage, and forensic evidence. Veronica's alibi, which claimed she was home reading Mistrology today and meditating, fell apart when phone records showed she was near Jacob's apartment at the time of the murder. Furthermore, forensic analysis of Veronica's clothing revealed traces of Jacob's blood, linking her directly to the crime scene. On the morning of August 22, the police moved in to arrest Veronica. They arrived at her mansion, a grand estate adorned with astrological symbols and crystals. Veronica was taken by surprise, her confident demeanor cracking as she was handcuffed and led to the police car. She protested loudly, accusing the police of targeting her because of her wealth and status. The arrest sent shockwaves through the Naples community. Jacob's family, who had been devastated by his death, felt a mix of relief and sorrow. They were grateful that the murderer had been caught but heartbroken over the senseless loss of their son. Veronica's friends and clients were equally shocked, struggling to reconcile the generous woman they knew with the brutal crime she had committed. Veronica Hayes was charged with second-degree murder. Her trial would reveal more about the dark side of her personality and the tragic obsession that led her to take Jacob's life. The arrest marked a crucial step in the quest for justice, but the journey was far from over. Veronica Hayes' trial for the murder of Jacob Rasmussen began in October 2016. The courtroom was packed with journalists, community members, and activists. The case had drawn national attention, with many people intrigued by the bizarre astrology defense Veronica used. She claimed she was being discriminated against because she was a Virgo, a sign known for being meticulous and perfectionistic. The prosecution, led by District Attorney Martin Delgado, argued that Veronica's obsession with Jacob had driven her to murder. Delgado, a 45-year-old with a reputation for being tough on crime, presented the evidence collected by Detective Jenkins and Officer Blake. He showed the jury the phone records placing Veronica near Jacob's apartment, the forensic evidence linking her to the scene, and the bruises on Jacob's body indicating a struggle. Delgado painted a picture of a woman consumed by jealousy and rage, who had meticulously planned and executed the murder. He called witnesses who testified about Veronica's possessive nature and her increasing anger towards Jacob's other relationships. Delgado's argument was clear. Veronica's jealousy had turned deadly. The defense attorney, Nancy Price, took a different approach. Price, a 50-year-old known for her unconventional tactics, focused on the so-called astrology defense. She argued that Veronica was being unfairly targeted because of her zodiac sign. Price brought in experts who testified about Virgo characteristics, emphasizing that Veronica's actions were influenced by her astrological traits rather than a criminal mindset. Veronica herself took the stand, carefully claiming that she was a victim of discrimination. She insisted she had no intention of killing Jacob and that the incident was a tragic accident. Her testimony was supported by groups like Virgos United and Americans Against Birth Sign Discrimination, who protested outside the courthouse throughout the trial. They held signs demanding fair treatment for all astrological signs and decrying the injustice against Virgos. Despite the prosecution's strong case, the jury was swayed by the defense's argument. On November 15, 2016, Veronica was found guilty of manslaughter instead of murder. The judge sentenced her to 10 years in prison, a decision that shocked many who had expected a harsher punishment. Jacob's family was devastated by the verdict. They felt that justice had not been served and that Veronica's wealth and influence had played a role in her lighter sentence. Friends and supporters of Jacob were equally outraged, feeling that the trial had turned into a spectacle rather than a pursuit of justice. Veronica's supporters celebrated the verdict, viewing it as a victory against astrological discrimination. The trial and its outcomes sparked widespread debate about the role of unconventional defenses in the legal system and the influence of public opinion on judicial decisions. After Veronica Hayes' trial ended, the lives of everyone involved were changed significantly. Veronica began serving her 10-year sentence at the Florida Women's Reception Center, a medium-security prison located in Ocala. Her trial had drawn considerable media attention, and she became a controversial figure. She continued to claim she was a victim of discrimination due to her astrological sign, using the prison's library to write letters and articles about her experience. Her case remained a topic of discussion in astrological and legal circles. Jacob Rasmussen's family in Minnesota struggled to cope with the outcome of the trial. They felt the 10-year sentence was too lenient for a crime as brutal as Jacob's murder. The media frequently covered their reactions, highlighting their disappointment and grief. They continued to advocate for harsher penalties for crimes of this nature and sought to keep Jacob's memory alive through community events and online memorials. Marcus Dean, who had been a suspect in the case, faced continued scrutiny from the public. Though he was cleared of any involvement in Jacob's murder, his reputation was tarnished by his rivalry with Jacob and his history of altercations. He struggled to find work and had to deal with the fallout from the media coverage, which painted him as a potential murderer. Bryony Mitchell Keynes, another suspect, returned to Australia and faced her own challenges. The negative publicity from the cases affected her restaurant business, and she dealt with backlash from customers and critics. Bryony continued to live a quiet life, trying to distance herself from the controversy surrounding the case. The murder of Jacob Rasmussen and the subsequent trial had a lasting impact on everyone involved. It brought attention to issues of justice and discrimination, and left a mark on the community of Naples, Florida. The case became a cautionary tale about the influence of personal biases and unconventional defenses in the legal system. This is the story of Adam Johnson, a loving husband and father whose life was tragically cut short in a deadly love triangle. Adam Johnson was a 29-year-old man who lived in Alpharetta, Georgia, with his wife Rebecca and their twin boys Modelo and Reno. Adam was an architect who loved designing buildings that were good for the environment. He wanted to help the planet by creating homes and offices that used less energy and were made from sustainable materials. Adam went to Georgia Tech and graduated with a degree in architecture. He was very proud of his education and often talked about how much he learned there. Adam was working on his first major project when he died. This project was very important to him because he believed it would help make the community a better place to live. Adam's dream was to create beautiful buildings that would last a long time and not harm the environment. He wanted his children to grow up in a world where they could enjoy clean air and natural beauty. He often told his friends about his plans and hopes for the future, sharing his vision of a better world. In the days before his death, Adam was very busy but also very excited. He was working late nights and early mornings to make sure his project was perfect. He often talked to his colleagues about new ideas and ways to improve his designs. He even stayed up late reading the latest architecture magazines to stay informed about new trends and technologies. Adam lived in a nice neighborhood in Alpharetta, where people knew each other and felt safe. He liked to jog in the mornings and was often seen at the local Starbucks, where he would get his favorite drink, a caramel macchiato. He also enjoyed watching football games on TV and was a big fan of the Georgia Bulldogs. Adam's personality and dreams made him a special person. He was loved by many and had big plans for the future. His dedication to his work and his family showed how much he cared about making the world a better place. Adam's tragic death was a shock to everyone who knew him, as it ended the life of a man who had so much more to give. On August 15, 2013, at around 9:00 a.m., the body of Adam Johnson was discovered in his home in Alpharetta, Georgia. The person who found him was his neighbor, Josephus Matthews. Josephus often checked in on the Johnson family because they were good friends and lived next door. That morning, Josephus noticed that the front door of the Johnson house was slightly open, which seemed strange. Feeling uneasy, he decided to go inside and see if everything was okay. As Josephus entered the house, he called out Adam's name, but there was no answer. He walked through the hallway and into the living room, where he made a horrific discovery. Adam was blindfolded and tied to a chair, with multiple stab wounds all over his body. The room was a mess with blood on the floor and walls, indicating a violent struggle had taken place. Josephus was in shock and couldn't believe what he was seeing. His hands shook as he pulled out his phone to call 911. The operator answered, and Josephus tried to stay calm as he described what he had found. His voice trembled, but he managed to give the operator all the necessary details. He said, "I'm at my neighbor's house and he's been stabbed. He's tied to a chair, and there's blood everywhere. Please send help quickly." The police arrived at the scene within minutes. They found Josephus standing in the hallway, visibly shaken. The officers asked Josephus to wait outside while they secured the scene. As they moved through the house, they noted the signs of a struggle and the violent nature of the attack. The paramedics arrived soon after the police and confirmed that Adam was dead. Josephus was asked to give a statement about what he had seen and how he had found Adam. He described how he had entered the house, found the body, and immediately called 911. Josephus was still in shock and had a hard time processing what had happened. He kept repeating, "I can't believe this. Adam was such a good man." The news of Adam's death spread quickly through the neighborhood. People were shocked and saddened to hear that such a kind and caring person had been murdered in such a brutal way. The local news stations like WSB-TV began reporting on the crime, and the community was left in a state of fear and disbelief. The discovery of Adam Johnson's body marked the beginning of a tragic and complex investigation. On the morning of August 15, 2013, the Alpharetta police quickly arrived at the scene where Adam Johnson's body was found. Brother and sister police team officers Clarissa Brown and Dean Davis were among the first responders. They were known for their thoroughness and dedication. Officer Brown, a seasoned detective with a calm demeanor, and Officer Davis, a younger but highly observant officer, were both shocked by the brutality of the scene. The crime scene was in Adam's living room. Blood was splattered across the floor and walls, and it was clear that a violent struggle had taken place. Adam was found blindfolded and tied to a chair with multiple stab wounds. The most severe wound was a single fatal stab to the heart. This indicated that the attack was personal and not a random act of violence. The detectives began their investigation by securing the crime scene and making sure no evidence was disturbed. They used yellow crime scene tape to cordon off the area and started taking photographs of the scene from every angle. They collected samples of the blood found at the scene, hoping to find DNA evidence that could lead them to the killer. Officer Brown noticed a partially burned note in the fireplace. She carefully retrieved it with tweezers and placed it in an evidence bag. The note appeared to be a letter from Adam, expressing his intention to leave his wife Rebecca and take custody of their children. This piece of evidence suggested a possible motive for the crime. The detectives also used luminol to check for any hidden bloodstains. Luminol is a chemical that glows when it comes into contact with blood, even if the blood has been cleaned up. They found more bloodstains leading from the living room to the kitchen, indicating that the struggle might have started there. Officer Davis checked the doors and windows for signs of forced entry, but found none. This suggested that Adam knew his attacker and had let them into the house willingly. The police also dusted for fingerprints and collected any that they found, hoping to match them to a suspect. The police worked tirelessly to gather all possible evidence. They interviewed neighbors, including Josephus Matthews, who had discovered the body. Josephus described Adam as a friendly and caring person who had no known enemies. This made the crime even more puzzling. As the day turned into night, the police continued their investigation, determined to find justice for Adam Johnson. The crime scene was gruesome, and the detectives knew they had a tough case ahead. They hoped the evidence they gathered would lead them to the person responsible for this horrific crime. Rebecca Johnson, Adam's 27-year-old wife, was the first suspect in the investigation. Rebecca was known for being creative and outgoing, with a vibrant social life. However, her relationship with Adam had been strained for some time. Friends and family mentioned that she seemed unhappy and distant, and rumors about her having an affair were common. Rebecca was a part-time artist who enjoyed painting and attending local art events. Raised Methodist, she was also recently involved with a group called Zen and Philosophy. This group claimed to be a spiritual community, with its teachings based on the 1999 Disney Channel original movies and a girl of the 21st century. Others simply called it a cult. Well, we'll let you decide.
Hello, I am Maureen Zaftrapines, agent of Lady Zinnan Carr. Today I invite you to explore Zinnan philosophy, a futuristic vision and a prophecy of humanity's evolution towards cosmic enlightenment. Through chanting of Lord Proto-Zoo's sacred lyrics, we attune our souls to the cosmic frequencies, preparing ourselves for the journey towards higher realms of existence. Our sacred branding of the letter Z symbolizes our commitment to Zinnan philosophy as we embark on the path of spiritual enlightenment. We are not just individuals, but a cosmic community united by our shared vision. As we journey towards the stars, let us embrace the teachings of the Zinnan philosophy, for within its wisdom lies the key to unlocking the mysteries of the universe and the boundless potential of our souls. May the light of Lady Zinnan guide us on our cosmic voyage. Cetus Lupitus.
Anyway, Rebecca's sudden interest in Zen and philosophy worried her friends and family. They felt she was becoming more withdrawn and influenced by the group's teachings. When the police questioned Rebecca, she appeared anxious and evasive. She admitted that her marriage to Adam was troubled and confessed to having an affair with Jimmy Lewis Carter, a 23-year-old ex-football player at Georgia Tech. Rebecca explained that she met Jimmy through Zen and philosophy and that they had become close. She bluntly said Jimmy was much better in bed than her husband. Despite this admission, Rebecca denied any involvement in Adam's murder. During the interrogation, Rebecca's nervousness was evident. She fidgeted with her hands and avoided eye contact with the detectives. Officer Brown asked Rebecca about the night of the murder, but her answers were vague and inconsistent. Rebecca claimed she was at home alone, which the police found suspicious given the nature of her relationship with Adam. The detectives also questioned Rebecca about the partially burned note found in the fireplace. The note indicated that Adam planned to leave her and take their children, Modelo and Reno. When asked about this, Rebecca became visibly upset and started to cry. She insisted that she did not know about Adam's plans and that she would never harm him. The police searched Rebecca's phone and computer, looking for any clues. They found numerous text messages between her and Jimmy, discussing their relationship and their dissatisfaction with their current lives. However, there was no direct evidence linking Rebecca to the murder. Rebecca's involvement with Zen and philosophy also raised questions. The group had a reputation for encouraging extreme behavior among its members. The detectives wondered if the group's influence had played a role in Adam's death. They decided to investigate further, looking into the activities and teachings of Zen and philosophy. Despite her nervous demeanor and inconsistent statements, there was not enough concrete evidence to arrest Rebecca at that time. The police continued to investigate other leads and suspects, hoping to find the truth behind Adam Johnson's tragic death. Jimmy Lewis Carter, a 23-year-old ex-football player at Georgia Tech, was the second suspect in Adam Johnson's murder case. Known for his charisma and athleticism, Jimmy had a history of short-term relationships. He was identified as Rebecca Johnson's lover and was the one who introduced her to the Xenon philosophy group. This group, often considered a cult, had a significant influence on both Rebecca and Jimmy. When the police brought Jimmy in for questioning, he appeared calm and confident. His relaxed demeanor contrasted sharply with the serious nature of the investigation. Detective Clarissa Brown and Officer Dean Davis conducted the interview, hoping to learn more about his relationship with Rebecca and his possible involvement in Adam's death. Jimmy was cooperative and answered all the questions without hesitation. He admitted to having an affair with Rebecca and confirmed that they met through Zen and philosophy. Jimmy described Rebecca as someone who was unhappy in her marriage and looking for something more in life. He claimed that their relationship was purely emotional and physical, with no intention of causing harm to anyone. Detective Brown asked Jimmy about his whereabouts on the night of August 14, 2013. Jimmy confidently stated that he was with a friend at a local Longhorn steakhouse and provided the names of several friends who could confirm his alibi. The police followed up on this information and found that his alibi checked out. Jimmy was indeed at practice, far from the scene of the crime. Despite his solid alibi, the detectives pressed Jimmy further, trying to uncover any additional information. They asked him about Zen and philosophy and its influence on him and Rebecca. Jimmy explained that Zen and philosophy was about finding inner peace and spiritual enlightenment. He denied that the group had any radical or violent teachings. The detectives also asked Jimmy about the text messages between him and Rebecca. The messages showed their dissatisfaction with their current lives and hinted at plans for the future. Jimmy explained that they were just talking about their dreams and aspirations, not planning anything harmful. Throughout the interrogation, Jimmy remained composed and dismissive of the police's suspicions. He showed no signs of guilt or nervousness, which made the detectives wonder if he was telling the truth or just a very good liar. However, without concrete evidence linking him to the crime, they had no choice but to let him go. As Jimmy left the police station, the detectives continued to feel uneasy. His confidence and cooperation were unusual for someone under suspicion of such a serious crime. While they could not detain him, Jimmy remained a person of interest in the investigation. The police continued to gather evidence, hoping to find the truth behind Adam Johnson's tragic death. On August 20, 2013, 5 days after Adam Johnson's body was found, the Alpharetta police received a crucial tip. It was a hot, humid afternoon when a local resident called the station. She had found something suspicious while walking her dog, Michael Cartino Winchester, in a nearby park. The park was a popular spot in Alpharetta, known for its scenic trails and family-friendly atmosphere. Emma described finding a bloody knife hidden under some bushes near the edge of the park. The knife seemed out of place, and she immediately thought it might be connected to Adam's murder. Officer Dean Davis and Detective Clarissa Brown rushed to the park to investigate the tip. They arrived at the scene and carefully retrieved the knife, placing it in an evidence bag to avoid contamination. Back at the police station, forensic experts examined the knife. They discovered traces of Adam's blood on the blade and a partial fingerprint on the handle. The fingerprint was sent to the lab for analysis. The detectives hoped it would match someone in their database or one of their suspects. The discovery of the knife was a significant breakthrough in the case. The police felt a renewed sense of urgency as they waited for the lab results. 2 days later, on August 22, the lab results came back. The fingerprint on the knife matched Karen Blanchard, Rebecca Johnson's best friend, and a member of Xenon philosophy. Karen was known for her aggressive behavior and strong loyalty to Rebecca. The police immediately brought her in for questioning. The discovery of the knife and the fingerprint evidence put Karen under intense scrutiny. The police believed they were closer to solving the case, but they needed more information to piece everything together. They continued to investigate Karen's involvement, hoping to uncover the full truth behind Adam Johnson's murder. Karen Blanchard, Rebecca Johnson's best friend, became a primary suspect after a fingerprint was found on the knife used to kill Adam Johnson. Karen, a 28-year-old with a history of aggressive behavior, was fiercely protective of Rebecca. She was also an ex-lover of Jimmy Lewis Carter and a member of Xenon Philosophy. On August 22, 2013, after the fingerprint analysis, Detective Clarissa Brown and Officer Dean Davis brought Karen in for questioning. Karen, known for her strong-willed personality, initially tried to maintain her composure. However, the evidence against her was mounting, and the detectives were determined to uncover the truth. During the interrogation, Karen admitted to having sex with Rebecca but denied any involvement in Adam's murder. She claimed that the knife must have been planted to frame her. Detective Brown, with her calm and methodical approach, pressed Karen for more details about her activities on the night of August 14. Karen's story was inconsistent. She initially claimed to be at home alone, but later admitted to meeting with Rebecca and Jimmy. She described the meeting as a casual get-together, insisting they only discussed their frustrations with their current lives. However, the detectives were skeptical, especially given her strong loyalty to Rebecca and the presence of her fingerprint on the murder weapon. Karen's involvement with Xenon Philosophy also raised red flags. The group, often viewed as a cult, had a reputation for promoting extreme loyalty among its members. Detective Brown asked Karen if the group had influenced her actions, but Karen vehemently denied it, saying Xenon Philosophy was about finding inner peace, not violence. As the questioning continued, Karen became more agitated. Her defensive behavior only increased the detectives' suspicions. Officer Davis, known for his sharp observational skills, noticed Karen's hands trembling slightly, a sign of her growing anxiety. The police also searched Karen's home, looking for any additional evidence. They found several items linking her to Rebecca and Jimmy, including text messages and meeting notes related to Xenon Philosophy. While these items did not directly implicate Karen in the murder, they showed the close connection between the three suspects. Despite Karen's denials, the evidence against her was compelling. The fingerprint on the knife, her inconsistent alibi, and her aggressive loyalty to Rebecca all pointed to her potential involvement in Adam's death. The detectives believed Karen knew more than she was willing to admit and continued to apply pressure, hoping she would crack under the weight of the evidence. The investigation into Karen Blanchard was a crucial step in solving the case. The police were closer than ever to uncovering the full story behind Adam Johnson's tragic death, but they needed to keep pushing to find the final piece of the puzzle. On August 25, 2013, after a thorough investigation, the police finally identified the murderer, Rebecca Johnson. The breakthrough came when detectives uncovered a series of deleted text messages on Rebecca's phone. These messages, recovered by forensic experts, revealed her desperation and fear of losing her children. Adam had discovered her affairs with Jimmy and Karen and planned to leave her, taking custody of their children, Modelo and Reno, because he did not want them to be raised in Xenon Philosophy. On the night of August 14, Rebecca had confronted Adam about his plans to leave. A heated argument ensued, escalating into a violent struggle. In a fit of rage and desperation, Rebecca blindfolded Adam, tied him to a chair, and stabbed him multiple times, delivering a fatal wound to his heart. She then attempted to stage the scene to look like a home invasion gone wrong. Detective Clarissa Brown and Officer Dean Davis pieced together the timeline of events from the recovered messages and other evidence. They presented their findings to the district attorney, who issued a warrant for Rebecca's arrest. On the morning of August 26, the police arrived at Rebecca's home. It was a tense moment as they knocked on the door. Rebecca answered, appearing calm but visibly nervous. The officers informed Rebecca of the charges against her and placed her under arrest. She was shocked and initially denied everything, but the evidence was overwhelming. As she was led away in handcuffs, her neighbors watched in disbelief. The once vibrant and outgoing woman was now at the center of a horrific crime. Rebecca's arrest brought a mix of emotions to the community. Adam's family, devastated by his loss, felt a sense of relief knowing the murderer had been caught. However, the revelation that Rebecca was responsible for his death added another layer of pain. Rebecca's children, Modelo and Reno, were taken into the care of Adam's parents. The community rallied around the family, offering support during this difficult time. The local news stations covered the arrest, highlighting the tragic turn of events. The investigation had been long and complex, but the dedication of Detective Brown, Officer Davis, and their colleagues ensured that justice was served. The evidence, combined with Rebecca's actions and the recovered messages, painted a clear picture of her guilt. Rebecca's arrest marked the end of a dark chapter in Alpharetta. The community hoped for healing and justice for Adam Johnson and his family. Rebecca Johnson's trial for the murder of her husband Adam began on November 15, 2013, in the Fulton County Courthouse. The courtroom was packed with reporters from local news stations like WSB-TV and concerned residents of Alpharetta. The trial drew significant attention due to the shocking details of the case. The prosecution, led by District Attorney James Morgan, age 45, presented a compelling argument. Known for his thorough and determined approach, Morgan meticulously laid out the evidence against Rebecca. He detailed the affair with Jimmy Lewis Carter, her involvement with Karen Blanchard, and the influence of Xenon philosophy. He highlighted the recovered text messages, the forensic evidence, and the violent nature of Adam's murder. The defense, led by attorney Laura Simmons, age 38, attempted to paint a different picture. Simmons, known for her empathetic yet assertive style, argued that Rebecca was a victim of emotional abuse and manipulation. She claimed that Rebecca acted in self-defense and that her involvement with Xenon philosophy had clouded her judgment. Simmons tried to cast doubt on the prosecution's timeline and the reliability of the recovered messages. Throughout the trial, Adam's family sat in the courtroom, visibly distressed by the proceedings. Jane and Robert Johnson, Adam's parents, watched every detail unfold with a mix of sorrow and anger. Their presence reminded everyone of the human cost of the crime. The jury deliberated for 2 days before reaching a verdict. On December 2, 2013, they found Rebecca Johnson guilty of first-degree murder. The courtroom was silent as the verdict was read. Rebecca showed little emotion, staring blankly ahead. During sentencing, the judge addressed the court. She emphasized the gravity of the crime and the impact on Adam's family and the community. "This was a senseless act driven by fear and desperation," she said. Rebecca was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. Rebecca's conviction and sentencing were seen as a fair resolution by most, though some felt sympathy for her, considering the emotional turmoil she had been experiencing. The trial's outcome provided a measure of justice for Adam Johnson and his family, allowing them to begin the long process of healing. After Rebecca Johnson was sentenced to life in prison without parole, the lives of those involved in the case changed drastically. Adam Johnson's family, still grappling with their loss, tried to find a new sense of normalcy. Jane and Robert Johnson, Adam's parents, took in their grandchildren, Modelo and Reno. The children, now under their grandparents' care, slowly adjusted to their new life. The Johnsons received overwhelming support from the Alpharetta community. Local groups and neighbors organized fundraisers and events to help the family. Rebecca's incarceration left a void in the lives of her children. Despite the severity of her crime, they were allowed occasional supervised visits to the prison, arranged by Child Welfare Services. These visits were emotionally challenging, as the children struggled to understand why their mother was behind bars. Jane and Robert Johnson did their best to provide a stable, loving environment for Modelo and Reno, shielding them from the media frenzy surrounding the case. Jimmy Lewis Carter, Rebecca's lover and a central figure in the investigation, faced his own set of challenges. The media attention affected his football career at Georgia Tech. Although he was not charged with any crime, his involvement with Rebecca and Xenon philosophy raised questions about his character. Jimmy decided to leave Georgia Tech and transferred to a smaller university to escape the scrutiny and rebuild his life. Karen Blanchard, Rebecca's best friend, also faced public backlash. Her aggressive defense of Rebecca and her involvement in the Xenon philosophy group made her a controversial figure. After the trial, Karen distanced herself from the group and sought therapy to deal with the emotional fallout. She moved to a different state, hoping for a fresh start away from the memories of the case. Life after the trial was a period of adjustment and healing for everyone involved. While the pain of Adam Johnson's death could never be erased, his family and the community worked together to honor his memory and move forward. The story of Adam Johnson and the tragic events of August 2013 left an indelible stain on Alpharetta, reminding all of the importance of justice and community support in the face of tragedy. Twins Brittany and Bethany Ingretza, both 25 years old, were known for their vibrant personalities and dreams. Brittany, a nurturing and compassionate kindergarten teacher, always put others' needs before her own. Bethany, on the other hand, was a creative soul, passionate about her music and spending hours composing and playing her guitar. She was the driving force behind her band, Polka Threat, which blended traditional polka music with indie rock. Unfortunately, like many in their dead-end small Midwestern town, to make ends meet they had to moonlight as strippers under the names Richie Rich and Dennis the Menace. The town of Marengo, Illinois, nestled in the heart of McHenry County, was a close-knit community with a population of just over 7,500 residents. Known for its picturesque landscapes and historic downtown, Marengo seemed like the epitome of small-town charm. The local newspaper, the Marengo Gazette, covered the town's happenings, from high school football games to the annual Pumpkin Festival, which drew visitors from neighboring towns. September of 2006 marked a turning point in the lives of the Ingretza sisters. They had dreams of escaping the confines of their small town, frequently called by the twins the most boring place on earth, and pursuing their passions on a larger stage. Brittany had been saving up money to move to Chicago and enroll in a prestigious teaching program, while Bethany had her sights set on recording an album with Polka Threat. However, their dreams were overshadowed by the harsh reality of their financial struggles. Moonlighting as strippers at the local club, the Velvet Lounge, was a secret they kept hidden from their friends and family. The club, located on Main Street, was a dimly lit establishment known for its late-night entertainment. It was a place where the town's secrets were whispered and forgotten, a sanctuary for those seeking an escape from their mundane lives. We will delve deeper into the events leading up to the heinous crime that shocked the town of Marengo. Stay tuned for more revelations and twists in this tragic tale. On a crisp and cool September day in 2006, the small town of Marengo, Illinois, situated just an hour away from the bustling city of Chicago, was about to be shaken to its core. It was a town where everyone knew everyone, where doors were left unlocked, and crime was something that happened in distant cities or on the evening news. But on that fateful day, Marengo would become the backdrop for a chilling crime that would leave its residents in shock and disbelief. Coral James, a concerned neighbor, had grown worried after not seeing the vibrant and outgoing Ingretza twins, Brittany and Bethany, for several days. She decided to take matters into her own hands and went over to their apartment to check on them. Little did she know that what she would find inside would haunt her for the rest of her days. As Coral stepped into the apartment, a sense of unease settled over her. The air was heavy, and an eerie silence hung in the rooms. She made her way to the bathroom, and there, in the cold porcelain bathtub, she discovered the lifeless bodies of Brittany and Bethany. The sight that greeted her was nothing short of horrifying. The twins' hands were tightly bound behind their backs, and the marks on their necks hinted at a brutal strangulation. The room was filled with an overwhelming sense of tragedy, as if the very walls were mourning the loss of these vibrant young women. The news quickly spread throughout the town, and shockwaves reverberated through the close-knit community. On that fateful September day in 2006, the small town of Marengo, Illinois was shaken to its core by the gruesome discovery of the lifeless bodies of twin sisters, Brittany and Bethany Ingretza. The police, led by Detectives Anderson and Ranger, arrived swiftly at the crime scene, determined to unravel the mystery behind this heinous crime. As they entered the apartment, a chilling sight greeted them. The once cozy living space had been transformed into a scene of chaos and despair. Furniture was overturned, belongings scattered haphazardly, and the air was heavy with an eerie silence. It was clear that a violent struggle had taken place within these walls. The detectives meticulously combed through every inch of the apartment, searching for any clue that could shed light on the motive and identity of the killer. They carefully collected fibers, fingerprints, and any other trace evidence that might hold the key to this tragic puzzle. In their search for answers, the detectives turned to the twins' personal belongings. They examined Brittany's kindergarten classroom, where colorful drawings and handwritten notes from her young students adorned the walls. They explored Bethany's music studio, filled with guitars, amplifiers, and stacks of sheet music. The detectives couldn't help but wonder if these passions and connections to the outside world held any significance in the investigation. Outside the apartment, the detectives spoke to neighbors and witnesses, hoping to gather any information that could lead them closer to the truth. They diligently questioned those who had seen or heard anything unusual in the days leading up to the discovery of the bodies. The detectives also reached out to local businesses, searching for surveillance footage that might provide a glimpse into the last moments of the twins' lives. As the investigation unfolded, the media frenzy surrounding the case grew. Local newspapers, such as the Marengo Tribune, dedicated coverage to the shocking crime. Chicagoland's best television news stations, like WGN and ABC7, aired reports urging viewers to come forward with any information they might have. Days turned into weeks, and the detectives tirelessly pursued every lead that came their way. They collaborated with forensic experts, consulted with renowned criminal profilers, and even reached out to the FBI for assistance. The case became a haunting presence in the town of Marengo, with whispers of the twins' tragic fate echoing through the streets. The investigation into the tragic deaths of Brittany and Bethany Ingretza took a significant turn when the police focused their attention on Darren Capletta, a 28-year-old mechanic and Brittany's former boyfriend. Darren's turbulent relationship with Brittany, combined with his history of possessiveness and stalking, made him a prime suspect in this heinous crime. Darren's obsession with Brittany began after their breakup, and he struggled to accept the end of their relationship. Friends and acquaintances recall his volatile temper and his relentless efforts to maintain control over Brittany's life. He would often show up unannounced at her workplace, leaving her feeling frightened and unsafe. The police wasted no time in bringing Darren in for questioning. They hoped to uncover any evidence that could link him to the murder of the Ingretza twins. During the interrogation, Darren's demeanor was tense and defensive. He vehemently denied any involvement in the crime, claiming that he had moved on from his relationship with Brittany. As the investigation unfolded, the police delved into Darren's background, meticulously scrutinizing his every move. They discovered that Darren's obsession with Brittany had escalated in the months leading up to the murders. He had been seen lurking around the twins' apartment building, often peering through their windows. Some witnesses even claimed to have seen him following the sisters as they went about their daily routines. To strengthen their case against Darren, the police analyzed his phone records, hoping to find any incriminating evidence. They discovered a series of disturbing text messages and voicemails that Darren had sent to Brittany in the weeks prior to the murders. In these messages, he expressed his anger and frustration, threatening to harm her if she didn't reconcile with him. The police also uncovered surveillance footage from a nearby convenience store, placing Darren in the vicinity of the Ingretza twins' apartment on the night of the murders. This crucial piece of evidence further implicated him in the crime. Despite the mounting evidence against Darren, the investigation was far from over. The police continued to explore other leads and potential suspects, ensuring that no stone was left unturned in their pursuit of justice for Brittany and Bethany. As the investigation into the shocking murder of Brittany and Bethany Ingretza unfolded, the police turned their attention to Roxy Blaine, a 26-year-old co-worker and close friend of the twins. Roxy, known for her caring and empathetic nature, had expressed concerns about Brittany's ex-boyfriend, Darren Capletta, in the past. However, her credibility had been undermined by her occupation as a stripper and her history of alcoholism. In the small town of Marengo, Illinois, where everyone seemed to know everyone else's business, Roxy's reputation had been tarnished. The local gossip mill whispered tales of her wild nights at the strip club and her struggles with addiction. But the police knew that sometimes, the most unexpected individuals could hold the key to solving a crime. On that fateful day in September 2006, the police brought Roxy in for questioning. Detective Anderson, a seasoned investigator with a reputation for getting to the truth, stared intently at Roxy, searching for any signs of deception. Roxy, dressed in worn-out jeans and a faded band t-shirt, sat nervously in the uncomfortable metal chair. She fidgeted with her fingers, her eyes darting around the room. She recounted the countless nights they spent together at the strip club, sharing stories and dreams. She described the bond they had formed, a sisterhood born out of adversity. Roxy's eyes welled up with tears as she spoke of the twins' kindness and the love they had shown her during her darkest moments. The detective pressed further, asking about any potential motives or connections that could shed light on the crime. Roxy hesitated for a moment, her mind racing with memories and possibilities. She mentioned a mysterious woman who had been lurking around the club in the weeks leading up to the murders. She described her unsettling demeanor and the way she seemed fixated on the twins. Detective Anderson furrowed his brow, his mind working to piece together the puzzle. He made a mental note to check security footage from that time, hoping it would provide some insight into this unknown figure. He thanked Roxy for her cooperation and assured her that they would leave no stone unturned in their quest for justice. As Roxy left the police station that day, a mix of relief and anxiety washed over her. She knew that the investigation was far from over, and the truth was still shrouded in darkness. But she had taken the first step in helping to unravel the web of secrets surrounding the murder of her beloved friends. In a shocking turn of events, the investigation into the brutal murders of Brittany and Bethany Ingrazza took a surprising twist. The small town of Marengo, Illinois was left reeling as new evidence emerged, shedding light on a hidden connection between two key suspects. Detectives Anderson and Ranger, leading the investigation, meticulously combed through the evidence, determined to bring justice to the slain sisters. It was during this process that they stumbled upon a startling revelation. Roxy Blaine, the twins' co-worker and close friend, had a secret sexual involvement with Darren Capletta, Brittany's volatile ex-boyfriend. As the investigation progressed, it became clear that Roxy had been concealing her sexual relationship with Darren, adding a layer of complexity to the case. This revelation raised questions about her potential motive and involvement in the heinous crime that rocked the town. The town of Marengo was abuzz with speculation as the news of Roxy's secret relationship with Darren spread like wildfire, fueling public interest and raising even more questions about the motives behind the twins' murders. As the investigation intensified, the detectives began to piece together a timeline of events leading up to the fateful day in September 2006. They discovered that Darren's possessive nature and inability to accept the breakup had driven him to stalk and harass Brittany relentlessly. Roxy, caught in the middle, had become entangled in a dangerous web of deceit and manipulation. The investigation took a sudden turn as the focus shifted to a new suspect, Tom Appelsforth, a 30-year-old musician and close friend of Bethany Ingrazza. Tom, known for his laid-back attitude and easygoing personality, was Bethany's bandmate in the popular local band Polka Threat. The band, which blended traditional polka music with indie rock, had gained a small but dedicated following in the Marengo music scene. Despite being close friends with Bethany, Tom had always carried a torch for her. Friends and acquaintances described him as supportive of Bethany's musical aspirations and never showing any signs of aggression or violence. However, the police had to consider all possibilities and thoroughly investigate Tom's connection to the heinous crime that had rocked the small town of Marengo. Detectives Anderson and Ranger brought Tom in for questioning, hoping to uncover any hidden motives or connections to the murder of the Ingrazza twins. The interrogation room was tense as the detectives pressed Tom for information. They carefully probed into his relationship with Bethany, looking for any signs of jealousy or resentment that could have driven him to commit such a heinous act. Tom maintained his innocence throughout the questioning, providing an alibi for the night of the murder. He claimed to have been at a local bar, the Rusty Nail, that evening. The detectives meticulously verified Tom's alibi, interviewing bar staff and patrons who confirmed his presence at the venue during the time of the crime. Despite the alibi, the detectives continued to investigate Tom's background and acquaintances. They delved into his social media presence, looking for any clues or connections that could shed light on his involvement. They also reached out to band members and friends, seeking additional information about Tom's relationship with Bethany and any potential conflicts that might have arisen. In a shocking turn of events, the small town of Marengo, Illinois, was rocked by the revelation of the true identity of the murderer responsible for the heinous crime that claimed the lives of Brittany and Bethany Ingrazza. After weeks of tireless investigation, the police finally identified and arrested Darren Capletta, a 28-year-old mechanic and former boyfriend of Brittany. Darren's motive for the brutal killings was rooted in jealousy and resentment towards Brittany's deep bond with her twin sister. Unable to accept their breakup, Darren's anger and obsession grew, leading him down a dark and sinister path. Consumed by feelings of anger and rejection, he devised a twisted plan to exact his revenge on Brittany. On that fateful September night, Darren entered the apartment where the sisters resided. In a fit of rage, he unleashed his fury upon Brittany, suffocating her to death on the living room sofa. But he didn't stop there. Bethany, tragically caught in the crossfire, became an innocent victim of Darren's deranged actions. The small town of Marengo was left in shock and disbelief as the news of the gruesome double murder spread like wildfire. The police, determined to bring justice to the victims and their grieving families, tirelessly pursued the investigation. They meticulously combed through evidence, interviewed witnesses, and analyzed every lead that came their way. The weight of the case and the urgency to solve it weighed heavily on their shoulders as the community anxiously awaited answers. Finally, a breakthrough came when a key piece of evidence linked Darren to the crime. The police, armed with this crucial information, swiftly moved in to apprehend him. The arrest sent shockwaves through the town as the residents grappled with the realization that the murderer had been living among them. The arrest of Darren Capletta brought a sense of relief to the community, but it also served as a stark reminder of the darkness that can lurk in the most unexpected places. In the wake of the shocking murders of twins Brittany and Bethany Ingretza, the small town of Marengo, Illinois was left reeling. The gruesome crime had shattered the community's sense of security and left a void that could never be filled. As the case unfolded, the search for justice became paramount, and the trial of the murderer, Darren Capletta, became a pivotal moment in the quest for closure. The trial began on a somber April morning in the Marengo County Courthouse. Prosecutor Larry Pascoe-Grover, a seasoned legal expert known for his unwavering dedication to justice, presented a compelling case against Capletta. With meticulous attention to detail, Pascoe-Grover meticulously laid out the evidence, painting a vivid picture of the events that unfolded on that fateful night. Attorney Tom Berlin, representing the defense, fought tooth and nail to cast doubt on the prosecution's case. Berlin, known for his sharp legal mind and persuasive arguments, attempted to create an alternative narrative that would exonerate his client. The courtroom was filled with tension as the two legal titans clashed in a battle of wits and rhetoric. Throughout the trial, the Ingretza family sat in the front row, their faces etched with grief and anger. Their presence served as a constant reminder of the lives that had been brutally cut short. As the trial progressed, witnesses took the stand, recounting the events leading up to the murders. Friends and acquaintances of the victims spoke of their vibrant personalities and the dreams they had for the future. The defense called into question the credibility of some witnesses, while the prosecution presented forensic evidence that seemed to point directly at Capletta. After weeks of intense courtroom drama, the jury finally reached a verdict. The tension in the air was palpable as the foreperson stood and delivered the words that would determine Capletta's fate. Guilty. The courtroom erupted in a mix of relief, sorrow, and a sense of closure for the families of Brittany and Bethany. The judge, known for his no-nonsense approach to sentencing, wasted no time in delivering his judgment. Capletta was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. As he was led away in handcuffs, the family of the victims found a small measure of solace in knowing that justice had been served. Following the conclusion of the trial, the lives of those involved in the Marengo, Illinois murder case took different paths. Darren Capletta, the perpetrator of the heinous crime, received his just punishment and was sentenced to a lifetime behind bars. The small town breathed a collective sigh of relief, knowing that justice had been served. For the Ingretza family, however, the pain of losing Brittany and Bethany remained ever present. In the years that followed, they established a scholarship fund in honor of Brittany and Bethany. The fund provided financial assistance to aspiring teachers and musicians, keeping the sisters' dreams alive. Meanwhile, Roxy Blaine, who had been involved with Darren Capletta, faced the consequences of her actions. The revelation of her secret relationship with the murderer shocked the community. Roxy, burdened by guilt and shame, sought redemption by volunteering at a local women's shelter. She hoped to make amends and prevent others from falling victim to abusive relationships. The case of the Ingretza sisters had a lasting impact on the town of Marengo. The community came together to raise awareness about domestic violence, organizing workshops and seminars to educate residents on recognizing the signs of abuse. The Marengo Police Department implemented new protocols to ensure that future cases of domestic violence would be handled with utmost care and urgency. The town of Marengo, Illinois, will forever bear the scars of this tragic crime. The lives of Brittany and Bethany Ingretza were cut short, leaving a community shattered and searching for answers. True crime case files will continue to uncover stories like these, shedding light on the darkest corners of humanity. Lisa Turner was a 45-year-old stay-at-home mom who lived in Pineville, North Carolina, an upper-middle-class suburb of Charlotte. Lisa was very active in her community. She was a member of the local PTA, where she organized fundraisers and events for the school. She was also a devoted member of her church's choir, where she sang every Sunday. Lisa had a friendly demeanor and was always willing to help others. She was considered a pillar of the community, someone everyone could rely on. Lisa had once dreamed of becoming a teacher, but those dreams were put on hold when she married Rod Turner, a successful corporate lawyer, and decided to focus on raising their two children, Carmel, 17, and Militia, 14. Despite her busy life, Lisa always found time for her family and friends. Behind her perfect suburban life, Lisa felt unfulfilled and lonely. Rob, 48, had been working long hours at his job, dealing with high-profile banks and helping them find legal loopholes to evict people from their homes during the Great Recession. This created a distance between them, and Lisa often felt like she was living in a gilded cage. She craved excitement and attention, something she wasn't getting at home. In the days before her death, Lisa was busy with her usual activities. She was planning the church's upcoming Easter event, making decorations and organizing volunteers. She was also seen at the local Starbucks, sipping a latte and chatting with friends. To the outside world, Lisa seemed happy and content, but inside she was struggling. Lisa's personality was warm and welcoming. She had a smile for everyone and a kind word for those in need. Her friends described her as generous and caring. She dreamed of a life where she felt truly loved and appreciated. However, little did anyone know Lisa had found this attention in the arms of Jason Brace Collins, the 18-year-old son of her neighbor. Lisa's secret affair with Jason provided the thrill she longed for. She documented her feelings and experiences in a hidden journal, expressing the excitement and guilt she felt. In her final days, Lisa was torn between her duties as a mother and wife and her desire for something more. However, on the morning of March 21, 2012, Lisa's life would be tragically cut short, leaving the community of Pinville in shock and mourning. On the morning of March 21, 2012, around 7:30 a.m., Rob Turner came home early from a business trip to surprise his wife. He had been away in New York City for a meeting with a big bank client and took an early flight back to Pinville. Expecting to find Lisa making breakfast for their kids, Rob instead walked into a scene of horror. When Rob entered the kitchen, he found Lisa lying on the floor in a pool of blood. The room was a mess with broken dishes and blood splatters on the walls and floor. Lisa had been shot and stabbed multiple times. Even more shocking, the number 3-04 was carved into her stomach. Rob, in complete shock, dropped his suitcase and rushed to her side, but it was clear she was already gone. Rob immediately called 911. His voice trembled as he told the dispatcher about the scene he had walked into. He kept repeating, she's gone, over and over. The dispatcher tried to keep him calm and instructed him to wait for the police to arrive. Rob stayed by Lisa's side, crying and holding her hand, unable to comprehend what had happened. The first police officer arrived within minutes. Officer Diller, who was on patrol nearby, responded to the call. When she entered the house and saw the scene, she was stunned but quickly took control of the situation. She guided Rob away from the body and secured the area, waiting for the detectives to arrive. Rob Turner was still in shock. He could barely speak as the officers tried to question him about the events leading up to his discovery. He kept saying he couldn't believe this was happening and that Lisa was gone. Lisa's body was taken to the medical examiner's office for an autopsy, while the detectives began their investigation. The news of Lisa's murder quickly spread through Pinville. It was reported on local TV stations like WSOC TV, and neighbors gathered outside the Turner home, trying to understand how such a terrible thing could happen in their quiet community. The Pinville police arrived quickly after Rod Turner's 911 call on March 21, 2012. Officer Natera Miller, who was patrolling nearby, was the first on the scene. She found Rob in a state of shock, holding Lisa's hand. Officer Miller immediately secured the area and called for backup. Detective Tiana Williams and Officer Mark Vidria, both seasoned investigators, arrived soon after. Detective Williams, known for her meticulous nature, surveyed the chaotic crime scene. The kitchen was a mess. Broken dishes and blood were everywhere. Lisa had been shot and then stabbed multiple times. The number 304 was carved into her stomach, a chilling and mysterious detail. Detective Williams and Officer Vidria began their investigation methodically. They photographed the crime scene from every angle, documenting the blood splatters, broken items, and Lisa's body. They used luminol to detect hidden blood traces and collected fingerprints from surfaces like countertops and doorknobs. DNA samples were taken from various objects, hoping to find something that could identify the killer. The brutality of the attack suggested a crime of passion. Detective Williams considered possible motives. The number carved into Lisa's stomach seemed personal, as if the killer wanted to send a message. They found no signs of forced entry, suggesting Lisa knew her attacker. Rob Turner was taken to the police station for further questioning. Still in shock, he struggled to provide coherent answers. Detective Williams knew they needed to tread carefully with him. They asked about his recent business trip, his relationship with Lisa, and if she had any enemies. Rob mentioned his long work hours and their strained marriage, but denied any involvement in her death. The forensic team continued to gather evidence. They found a partially burnt diary in the fireplace, which contained entries too charred to be legible. This discovery added a new layer to the investigation, revealing something that might possibly be the motive behind the murder. The police also canvassed the neighborhood, interviewing neighbors and searching for witnesses. Some neighbors mentioned hearing loud noises the night before, but didn't think much of it. Others spoke highly of Lisa and her involvement in the community, expressing shock that such a tragedy could occur. Local news stations like WSOC-TD reported the murder, and the community of Pinneville was gripped by fear and curiosity. Detective Williams knew they had to solve this case quickly to bring peace to the neighborhood and justice for Lisa Turner. The first person the police investigated was Rob Turner, Lisa's husband. Rob, 48, was a successful corporate lawyer known for his stern, no-nonsense attitude. He worked long hours with high-profile banks, often helping them to find legal loophole that would allow them to evict people from their homes during the Great Recession. This demanding job had created a distance between him and Lisa. Despite this, Rob was deeply committed to his family and had no known history of violence. After discovering Lisa's body on the morning of March 21, 2012, Rob was in a state of shock. He called 911 immediately and was visibly shaken when the police arrived. Detective Tiana Williams and Officer Mark Vidria knew they needed to question Rob thoroughly. They took him to the police station to get his statement. At the station, Rob sat in a small, sterile interrogation room. He was pale and had dark circles under his eyes from lack of sleep. Detective Williams started with basic questions about his trip to New York City, his relationship with Lisa, and our family life. Rob explained that he had been away on a business trip and returned early to surprise Lisa. He described their marriage as strained, but insisted he would never harm her. Rob's responses were cooperative but filled with grief. He repeatedly stated his love for Lisa and his devastation over her death. He admitted that their relationship had been difficult lately due to his long hours at work, but he denied any involvement in her murder. Rob's lawyer, a sharp attorney, sat beside him, ensuring that Rob's rights were protected throughout the interrogation. The police also looked into Rob's alibi. They verified his flight details and confirmed he had indeed been in New York City for a meeting with a major bank. His colleagues and clients backed up his story, providing a solid alibi for the time of the murder. Despite Rob's cooperation and strong alibi, Detective Williams and her team still had to consider him a suspect. The brutality of the crime suggested a personal motive, and as Lisa's husband, Rob was a primary person of interest. However, without any concrete evidence linking him to the scene, the police had to continue their investigation and look into other potential suspects. The next suspect the police investigated was Jason Brace Collins, the 18-year-old son of Lisa's neighbor. Jason had just graduated from high school and was planning to major in engineering. He was well-liked in the community, known for his charm and good looks. However, a secret affair between him and Lisa had recently come to light, adding a new twist to the investigation. Detective Tiana Williams and Officer Mark Vidria called Jason in for questioning. Jason arrived at the police station looking nervous. He sat in the interrogation room, fidgeting with his hands. The detective started by asking him about his relationship with Lisa. Jason admitted to the affair but claimed it was consensual and that he loved her. He said that Lisa had provided him with attention and excitement he couldn't find elsewhere. When asked about his whereabouts on the night of March 20, Jason said he was at home playing video games. He mentioned specific games like Call of Duty, Modern Warfare 3, which was popular at the time. However, his alibi was weak since he was alone and had no one to confirm his story. Jason's behavior during the interrogation was erratic. At times he was calm, but he also showed bursts of anger and frustration. When detectives pressed him about the affair, he became defensive, insisting he would never hurt Lisa. He talked about their relationship, describing it as passionate but not violent. The police found Jason's nervousness suspicious and decided to search his home. They obtained a warrant and conducted a thorough search of his room. They found several explicit love letters from Lisa and some naked photos of them together, further confirming their relationship. However, they didn't find any physical evidence linking Jason to the murder. Neighbors reported seeing Jason acting strangely in the days following Lisa's death. Some said he seemed agitated and jumpy. Others mentioned he was less friendly and more withdrawn than usual. The police took note of these observations, but needed more concrete evidence to make an arrest. The community was shocked by the revelation of the affair. The once charming boy next door was now under a cloud of suspicion. Detective Williams knew they had to dig deeper into Jason's background and relationship with Lisa to uncover the truth. While Jason's affair with Lisa provided a possible motive, the police still needed more evidence to link him directly to the murder. They continued their investigation, knowing that solving this case required careful scrutiny of every detail. The third suspect the police investigated was Paula Brace Collins, Lisa's best friend and next-door neighbor. Paula, 43, was a stay-at-home mom who shared almost everything with Lisa. She was also passionate about running the choir at their church. Recently, Paula had grown suspicious of Lisa's behavior, fearing it might affect their friendship and her family, though she completely unaware of Lisa's affair with her son, Jason. Detective Tiana Williams and Officer Mark Vidria called Paula in for questioning. Paul arrived at the station looking worried but composed. In the small interrogation room, Detective Williams asked Paula about her relationship with Lisa. Paula spoke fondly of Lisa, describing her as a dear friend and confidant. However, Paula admitted she had noticed Lisa acting strangely in recent months and had been concerned. When asked about her whereabouts on the night of March 20, Paula said she was at home, preparing for the upcoming church event. She mentioned specific tasks like making decorations and organizing a volunteer list, tasks she could verify with other church members. Paula's alibi seemed solid, but the detectives pressed further. Detective Williams asked Paula if she knew about Lisa's affair with Jason. Paula was shocked and visibly upset. She insisted she had no idea about the affair and that she would have never condoned such behavior. Her reaction appeared genuine, and the detectives noted her distress. The police then asked Paula if she had any reason to harm Lisa. Paula vehemently denied any motive, stating that she loved Lisa like a sister and would never hurt her. She became emotional, tears welling up in her eyes, and continued to deny any involvement in Lisa's death. To corroborate Paula's alibi, the detectives interviewed other members of the church choir. They confirmed that Paula had been working on church preparations that night. Additionally, neighbors reported seeing Paula at home, further supporting her account. Despite Paula's solid alibi, the police still had to consider her a suspect due to her close relationship with both Lisa and Jason. They searched Paula's house for any evidence but found nothing linking her to the murder. The community of Pinneville was shaken as local news stations, including WSOC-TV, Charlotte's local news leader, reported on Paula's questioning, casting suspicion on another pillar of the community. Detective Williams and Officer Vidria continued to investigate, knowing that Paula's strong alibi and lack of evidence made it difficult to link her to the crime. They needed to explore every possible angle to uncover the truth behind Lisa Turner's brutal murder. On the morning of March 25, 2012, a break in the case came with a surprising discovery. It was a sunny day in Pinneville, and Detective Tiana Williams received a call from a local resident named Leah Johnson. Leah was walking her dog in a nearby park when she found a small, leather-bound journal partially buried under a bush. She quickly reported it to the police, thinking it might be connected to the recent murder. Detective Williams and Officer Mark Vidria rushed to the park to retrieve the journal. They carefully placed it in an evidence bag and took it back to the station for examination. The journal turned out to be a photocopy of Lisa Turner's secret diary, but one that was too burnt to be able to read, containing detailed and graphic entries about her affair with Jason Brace Collins. It also included her thoughts and feelings about her marriage and her sense of loneliness. The diary entries revealed that Lisa had been planning to end the affair with Jason. She felt guilty about betraying her family and wanted to focus on repairing her marriage and her church work. In addition, Lisa noted strange changes in Jason's behavior. She described how he thought he was lighted by the angel's light and how he badgered her to have sex with him 12 times a day. The last entry, dated March 19, mentioned her intention to meet Jason to break off the relationship. This new evidence shifted the focus of the investigation. Detective Williams and her team realized that Jason's obsession with Lisa might have driven him to murder her when she tried to end things. The diary also included several entries describing how Lisa seduced Jason by bathing naked in her backyard, which had a direct line of sight to his bedroom. These entries painted a calculated and disturbing picture of their intense and tumultuous relationship. The police decided to bring Jason in for further questioning. They confronted him with the diary entries, hoping to get a reaction. Jason initially denied everything, but when faced with the detailed descriptions of their affair, he broke down. He admitted to being in love with Lisa and feeling devastated when she wanted to end things. Detective Williams noticed that Jason's behavior was erratic and decided to have him undergo a psychological evaluation. The results indicated that Jason might be suffering from an undiagnosed bipolar disorder, which could explain his extreme reactions and mood swings. This information added a new layer to the investigation, suggesting that Jason's mental state could have played a role in the crime. The community of Pinneville was eager for answers, and the pressure on the police to solve the case increased. Detective Williams and her team continued to piece together the evidence, knowing they were closer to uncovering the truth behind Lisa Turner's tragic death. On March 26, 2012, the police made a breakthrough in the case. After reviewing Lisa Turner's diary and conducting a psychological evaluation of Jason Brace Collins, the evidence pointed clearly to him as the prime suspect. Detective Tiana Williams and Officer Mark Gidriad decided it was time to bring Jason in for a formal arrest. Jason Brace Collins, 18, was known for his charm and good looks, but the investigation revealed a darker side. Jason had fallen deeply in love with Lisa, and when she tried to end their affair, he couldn't handle it. His undiagnosed bipolar disorder likely contributed to his extreme reaction. Jason had become possessive and obsessed with Lisa, and the thought of losing her drove him to a fit of rage. The murder occurred on the night of March 20. Jason had gone to the Turner house for sex, knowing Rob was away on a business trip. Lisa let him in, intending to end the relationship. An argument ensued, escalating quickly. Jason, overwhelmed by his emotions, shot Lisa and then stabbed her multiple times. The number 304 carved into her stomach was a final twisted act of control. On the morning of March 26, around 10 a.m., the police arrived at the Brace Collins home to arrest Jason. Detective Williams led the team. They knocked on the door, and Paula Brace Collins answered, shocked to see the police. Jason was inside, and when he saw the officers, he tried to run but was quickly apprehended. Jason's reaction to the arrest was a mix of surprise and resignation. He didn't resist but looked defeated, knowing his actions had caught up with him. He was handcuffed and taken to the police station. During the ride, he remained silent, staring blankly ahead. The news of Jason's arrest spread quickly through Pennville. Local TV stations, including WSOC-TV, reported the developments. The community was in shock, especially those who knew Jason as the charming boy next door. The Turner family, devastated by Lisa's death, expressed relief that the murderer had been caught. They were grateful to the police for their hard work, but still struggled with their loss. At the police station, Jason was booked and charged with first-degree murder. He confessed to the crime during interrogation, detailing how his love for Lisa had turned into an uncontrollable obsession. He admitted that when Lisa tried to break up with him, he snapped and killed her in a fit of rage. Jason's arrest brought some closure to the community, but the pain of losing Lisa Turner lingered. Her family and friends tried to move forward, but the memory of that tragic night remained fresh in their minds. The trial of Jason Brace Collins began on July 15, 2012, at the Mecklenburg County Courthouse. The courtroom was packed with members of the Pineville community, including Lisa Turner's family and friends. The prosecution was led by District Attorney Leah Kastrowitz, a 50-year-old seasoned lawyer known for her tough stance on violent crimes. Leah presented a strong case, detailing how Jason's obsession with Lisa had driven him to commit the murder. Leah Kastrowitz described the brutal nature of the crime, emphasizing the shooting and stabbing, as well as the number 304 carved into Lisa's stomach. She brought in forensic experts to explain the evidence collected at the scene, including DNA and fingerprints linking Jason to the crime. She also presented entries from Lisa's diary, which documented her affair with Jason and her plans to end it. The defense attorney, Richard Blake, was a 45-year-old lawyer known for his calm and methodical approach. He argued that Jason's undiagnosed bipolar disorder played a significant role in his actions. Richard called in medical experts who testified about Jason's mental state, explaining how his condition could have led to a loss of control. He also highlighted Jason's young age and lack of prior criminal records, suggesting that he deserved leniency. Throughout the trial, Lisa Turner's family watched with heavy hearts. Her husband, Rob, and their children, Carmel and Militia, often broke down in tears as they listened to the details of her murder. The community members who attended the trial showed their support for the Turner family, hoping for justice to be served. After weeks of testimonies and deliberations, the jury reached a verdict. On August 12, 2012, Jason Brace Collins was found guilty of first-degree murder. The judge sentenced him to life in prison without the possibility of parole. The courtroom was silent as the sentence was read, and Jason showed little emotion, accepting his fate with a blank stare. The verdict brought a sense of closure to Lisa's family and friends, but the pain of losing her remained. They believed the punishment was just, given the brutality of the crime and the impact it had on their lives. The community of Pinneville felt a mix of relief and sorrow, knowing that justice had been served but that they have lost a cherished member of their community. Local news stations like WSOC-TV covered the trial extensively, highlighting the emotional journey of the Turner family and the community's response to the verdict. The trial and its outcome were discussed in homes, schools, and churches, as everyone tried to make sense of the tragedy that had shaken their quiet suburb. After the trial of Jason Brace Collins concluded, life in Pinneville began to slowly return to normal, though the scars of Lisa Turner's murder still lingered. For the Turner family, the verdict brought a sense of closure, knowing that Jason would spend the rest of his life behind bars for taking Lisa away from them. Rob Turner focused on rebuilding his life and supporting his children, Carmel and Militia, who struggled with the loss of their mother. The community rallied around the Turner family, offering support and comfort in various forms. Neighbors organized meal trains and childcare assistance, easing the burden on Rob as he adjusted to being a single parent. The local church, where Lisa had been an active member, held memorial services in her honor, celebrating her life and the impact she had on others. Meanwhile, Paula Brace Collins faced her own challenges. As Jason's mother and Lisa's best friend, Paula was devastated by the betrayal and the loss of both her son and her closest confidant. She withdrew from church activities and community events, choosing instead to focus on supporting Jason through letters and occasional visits to the prison. Jason, now incarcerated at Central Prison in Raleigh, North Carolina, adjusted to life behind bars. He received counseling and medication for his bipolar disorder, aiming to manage his condition while serving his sentence. Although he expressed remorse for his actions, Jason understood the severity of his crime and the impact it had on Lisa's family and the community. The community of Pinneville remained vigilant but began to move forward, cherishing the memories of Lisa Turner while looking ahead to brighter days. The tragic events of March 2012 had left an indelible mark, but through unity and resilience, Pinneville continued to be a close-knit suburb where neighbors supported one another through life's challenges.
Danielle "Danny" Scale, a vivacious and outgoing 42-year-old woman, was widely known for her charm, wit, and remarkable success in the real estate industry. Residing in the picturesque coastal city of Newport Beach, California, Danny thrived on closing deals and took great pride in her professional achievements. However, beneath her confident exterior, Danny grappled with lingering doubts about her marriage to Jonathan Scale, her enigmatic husband, and questioned the authenticity of his intentions. In November of 2011, Danny's life was forever ended, releasing the dark secrets lurking within her seemingly idyllic marriage. The affluent community of Newport Beach, known for its luxurious estates and pristine beaches, became the backdrop for its chilling tale of deception and violence. As we delve into Danny's story, it is crucial to understand the context in which it unfolded. Newport Beach, with its gleaming yachts and upscale boutiques, had long been a haven for the wealthy and influential. Famous as the setting for the famous Fox teen drama, The O.C., the city's close proximity to Los Angeles also made it an attractive destination for those seeking a blend of opulence and tranquility. Danny, with her impeccable taste and eye for luxury, effortlessly navigated the social circles of Newport Beach. She was a regular attendee at exclusive charity galas and frequented the trendy cafes that lined the city's bustling streets. Her magnetic personality and striking beauty garnered attention wherever she went, making her a sought-after companion among the city's elite. However, beneath the glamorous facade, Danny's personal life was shrouded in uncertainty. She often confided in close friends about her concerns regarding Jonathan, her husband of just 6 months, a man whose intentions remained elusive. Despite their outwardly happy appearance, whispers of marital discord and hidden secrets circulated among Newport Beach's tight-knit community. On a chilly November evening in 2011, a peaceful neighborhood in Newport Beach, California was shattered by a heinous crime that would forever change the lives of its residents. The vibrant and bustling community, known for its picturesque beaches and luxurious lifestyle, was now engulfed in a cloud of fear and uncertainty. Danielle "Danny" Scale, a 42-year-old woman with a successful career in real estate, had become the victim of a brutal and senseless act of violence. As the news of her tragic demise spread like wildfire, shockwaves reverberated through the tight-knit community, leaving its residents in a state of disbelief. It was Robbie Matheson, a close friend, neighbor, and local fashion designer, who stumbled upon the gruesome scene that fateful evening. Robbie, known for his impeccable taste and keen eye for detail, had dropped by Danny's house for a friendly visit. Little did he know that he would soon be thrust into a nightmare. As he entered Danny's opulent home, the air was heavy with an eerie silence. The house, adorned with expensive furniture and tasteful artwork, had an unsettling stillness that sent a chill down Robbie's spine. He called out for Danny, but there was no response. Concerned, he cautiously made his way upstairs, the creaking of the wooden steps echoing through the empty hallway. Upon reaching the master bedroom, Robbie's heart sank. There, lying lifeless on the bed, was Danny. Her once vibrant and radiant presence had been extinguished, leaving behind a void that could never be filled. The sight was both shocking and heart-wrenching, and Robbie's mind raced with a flood of emotions. In a state of panic, Robbie immediately dialed 911, his voice trembling as he relayed the horrifying discovery to the authorities. Within minutes, police cars and ambulances descended upon the quiet neighborhood, their flashing lights illuminating the darkness of the night. The once peaceful neighborhood now bore the weight of a dark secret, and its residents grappled with the realization that evil could lurk even in the most idyllic of places. November 2011, a month that should have been filled with anticipation for the upcoming holiday season, had now become a haunting reminder of the fragility of life. As news of Danielle "Danny" Scale's tragic death spread throughout the affluent community of Newport Beach, California, the police wasted no time in launching a thorough investigation into the chilling crime. Seasoned investigators Detective Morgan Hatoyevsky and Detective Polita Rodriguez were assigned to unravel the mystery surrounding Danny's untimely demise. Upon arriving at the crime scene, the detectives were met with a somber atmosphere that hung heavy in the air. The bedroom, once a sanctuary for Danny, now held the grim evidence of a violent struggle. With a keen eye for detail, Detective Hatoyevsky and Detective Rodriguez meticulously combed through the room, searching for any clues that could provide insight into the identity of the perpetrator. The absence of forced entry puzzled the investigators. How could someone have gained access to Danny's bedroom without leaving behind any trace? The detectives examined the windows and doors, meticulously checking for signs of tampering. They even enlisted the help of forensic experts to dust for fingerprints and collect DNA samples, hoping to find a breakthrough. As Detective Hatoyevsky and Detective Rodriguez tirelessly pursued leads and followed every possible avenue of inquiry, they remained determined to bring closure to Danny's grieving loved ones. The clock was ticking, and the pressure to solve the case mounted with each passing day. Jonathan Scale, a 55-year-old man, emerged as the primary suspect in the murder investigation of his wife, Danielle "Danny" Scale. With his suave demeanor and a facade of success, Jonathan managed to charm those around him, concealing his true nature as a master manipulator. As the investigation deepens, detectives are determined to uncover the truth behind Danny's tragic demise. Detective Morgan Hatoyevsky and Detective Polita Rodriguez, seasoned investigators with a wealth of experience, took charge of the case. Their first focus was Jonathan, the man closest to Danny. With their investigative instincts honed, the detectives meticulously interrogated him, hoping to peel back the layers of deception and uncover the truth. Jonathan, a self-proclaimed entrepreneur, had carefully crafted an image of success and prosperity. However, the detectives soon discovered a darker side to his seemingly perfect life.
Despite being refused permission to look into his financial records, the police managed to uncover a web of deceit and mounting debts. It became clear that Jonathan's lavish lifestyle was built on a foundation of lies and borrowed money. As the detectives probed further, they unearthed a series of suspicious activities in the months leading up to Danny's murder. Bank statements revealed large withdrawals and unexplained transfers from Danny's funds, raising red flags. Witnesses also came forward, recounting instances of Jonathan's volatile temper and controlling behavior towards Danny. The investigation took a dramatic turn when an anonymous tip led the detectives to a storage unit rented under Jonathan's name. Inside, they discovered a hidden cache of evidence, including a blood-stained shirt, something he claimed was from an accident playing basketball. The discovery sent shockwaves through the investigative team, providing a crucial link between Jonathan and the crime scene. The truth, hidden beneath layers of deception, was slowly being unraveled, bringing justice closer for Danny and closure for her loved ones. As the investigation into the murder of Danielle, Danny Scale unfolded, another person of interest emerged, Jason J-Boy Hermosa, a 19-year-old with a taste for the finer things in life. Jason was no stranger to the affluent community of Newport Beach, California, where he was something of a modern-day male geisha to Orange County's elite. A frequent guest at high-end parties and exclusive events, his striking good looks and charismatic personality made him a sought-after companion among the elite. But behind the glamorous facade, Jason possessed a manipulative and controlling nature. He saw Jonathan Scale, Danny's husband and his current lover, as his ticket to a world of luxury. Their secret affair had been brewing for months, hidden beneath the surface of Newport Beach's pristine reputation. The affair was a dangerous game of sex and deceit, with Jason yearning for the wealth and status that Jonathan seemed to possess effortlessly. The police, eager to uncover any connections to the crime, focused their attention on Jason. They brought him in for questioning, hoping to peel back the layers of deception and uncover the truth. Jason's response was a volatile mix of anger and denial. He vehemently distanced himself from any involvement in Danny's murder, swearing on his life that he had nothing to do with her or the heinous act. His alibi, he claimed, was attending a high-profile charity event on the night of the crime. He even provided photographs and news articles from that evening as evidence, showcasing his presence among the city's elite. The detectives scrutinized the evidence, carefully examining the photographs and articles. They cross-referenced Jason's alibi with witness statements and surveillance footage from the event. The pieces of the puzzle began to come together, painting a picture of a young man desperate to escape his own reality and immerse himself in a world of opulence. The case of Danielle, Danny Scale's murder was far from over. With two suspects in the spotlight, the detectives faced the daunting task of unraveling the truth from a web of lies and deception. As they dug deeper, they would soon discover that the secrets hidden in the shadows of Newport Beach were darker and more sinister than anyone could have imagined. In a stunning turn of events, the investigation into the murder of Danielle, Danny Scale took a dramatic twist when a hidden safe was discovered by Robbie Matheson, a close friend and neighbor of the victim. This breakthrough occurred on an unusually rainy day in Newport Beach, California, in November of 2011. Inside the hidden safe, the police found a treasure trove of financial records that exposed a web of deceit and fraud orchestrated by Jonathan Scale, Danny's husband. The records revealed him as the head of a multi-million-dollar Ponzi scheme that spanned across 6 states, involving real estate ventures, a chain of daycares, and even a network of strip clubs. This shocking revelation left the investigators in utter disbelief, as they realized they were dealing with a criminal empire far more complex than they had initially anticipated. The evidence uncovered in the safe detailed Jonathan's elaborate scheme, which had ensnared unsuspecting investors and left a trail of financial ruin in its wake. The records showed falsified documents, forged signatures, and a complex network of shell companies designed to mask the illegal activities. The police now had a clearer understanding of Jonathan's motive for silencing Danny, as she had become a potential threat to his fraudulent empire. As news of the discovery spread, media outlets seized upon the story, dubbing it the Newport Beach Ponzi scandal. Journalists delved into the intricate details of the scheme, uncovering the extent of Jonathan's fraudulent activities, revealing him to be a fake millionaire. The scandal sent shockwaves through the community, tarnishing the reputation of Newport Beach. an affluent coastal city known for its picturesque beaches and luxurious lifestyle. With the newfound evidence, the police intensified their efforts to bring Jonathan to justice. They meticulously analyzed the financial records, cross-referencing them with other ongoing investigations into similar Ponzi schemes. The collaboration between law enforcement agencies from multiple states became crucial in unraveling the full extent of Jonathan's criminal activities. The investigation into the murder of Danny Scale had now evolved into a high-profile case that captivated the nation. The media circus surrounding the Newport Beach Ponzi scandal only added to the pressure on the police to solve the murder and dismantle Jonathan's fraudulent empire. Ilea Evans, a 24-year-old activist with a strong sense of social justice, found herself entangled in the investigation surrounding the murder of Danny Scale. Ilea, known for her unwavering determination and passion for social causes, had long suspected Jonathan Scale, Danny's husband, of being involved in illicit activities. Her suspicions were fueled by rumors, later proven true, circulating in the close-knit rich community of Newport Beach, California. On a chilly November morning in 2011, Ilea was called in for questioning by the police. The interrogation room was dimly lit, casting long shadows on the walls. Detective Morgan Hatoyevsky, a seasoned investigator, sat across from her, his piercing gaze fixed on her every move. Ilea, dressed in her signature black hoodie and worn-out sneakers, maintained an air of defiance as she answered the detective's questions. She vehemently denied any involvement in Danny's murder, her voice quivering with a mix of anger and determination. "I may be an activist, but I would never resort to violence," she declared, her words echoing through the sterile room. The detective pressed on, probing for any evidence that could link Ilea to the crime. He raised his eyebrows, his skepticism evident, as he presented her with photographs taken at a protest she had organized against Jonathan's alleged fraudulent activities. Ilea's eyes narrowed, her resolve growing stronger as she explained, "I may have been vocal about his corruption, but I believe in exposing the truth through peaceful means." As the interrogation continued,
Ilea recounted her encounters with Jonathan, describing his extravagant lifestyle and the aura of power that surrounded him. She spoke of the rumors she had heard about his involvement in an interstate network of strip clubs and a chain of daycares, all part of an elaborate Ponzi scheme. Her words painted a vivid picture of a man consumed by greed and willing to go to great lengths to protect his empire. Despite the lack of concrete evidence linking Ilea to the crime, the police were determined to explore every lead. They scrutinized her alibi, interviewed her acquaintances, and searched for any connection she might have had to the murder. Ilea remained steadfast, her unwavering belief in justice propelling her forward. In a stunning turn of events, the police cracked the case of Danny Scale's murder and apprehended the culprit responsible for this heinous crime. Jonathan Scale, the victim's own husband, was taken into custody, facing charges related to her untimely demise. The breakthrough in the investigation came when a secret audio tape was discovered, capturing Danny's chilling words about her husband. "My husband is a fake millionaire." This revelation provided a crucial piece of evidence that helped connect the dots and shed light on the sinister truth behind Danny's murder. Jonathan, who presented himself as a successful entrepreneur, was revealed to be living a life built on lies and deceit. Behind his polished exterior, he had been running a multi-million-dollar Ponzi scheme, defrauding unsuspecting thousands of victims across 6 states. Shockingly, his fraudulent activities extended beyond real estate, encompassing a chain of daycares and even a network of strip clubs. The police, armed with this newfound evidence, were able to establish Jonathan's motive for silencing his wife. By eliminating Danny, he sought to protect his ill-gotten wealth and maintain his false image as a wealthy individual. However, his carefully constructed facade crumbled when the police uncovered the truth. The arrest of Jonathan Scale sent shockwaves through the community of Newport Beach, California. This affluent neighborhood, known for its picturesque landscapes and luxurious lifestyle, was rocked by this dark and disturbing crime. The residents, who once admired Jonathan for his apparent success, are now left reeling from the realization that they were living alongside a master manipulator and a cold-blooded murderer. The courtroom was filled with anticipation as the trial of Jonathan Scale, the man accused of orchestrating the murder of his wife, Danny Danny Scale, reached its climax. The prosecution, led by the determined and passionate prosecutor, Dana Chiu, meticulously presented a compelling case against Jonathan. The defense, represented by the skilled attorney, Reynolds Bastani, fought tooth and nail to protect Jonathan's interests. Throughout the trial, the courtroom was captivated by the testimonies of witnesses and the presentation of evidence. The prosecution called upon Detective Morgan Hatoyevsky and Detective Polita Rodriguez, the seasoned investigators who meticulously combed through the crime scene, to testify. They recounted the chilling details of the crime scene and the painstaking efforts they undertook to uncover the truth. The defense, on the other hand, sought to cast doubt on the evidence presented by the prosecution. They called upon expert witnesses to challenge the credibility of certain pieces of evidence, attempting to create reasonable doubt in the minds of the jurors. However, their efforts were met with skepticism as the prosecution skillfully dismantled their arguments.
After weeks of intense deliberation, the jury finally reached a verdict. The tension in the courtroom was palpable as the foreperson stood up to deliver the verdict. Guilty. The word reverberated through the room, leaving Jonathan Scale stunned. His carefully constructed facade crumbled before his eyes as the reality of his actions sank in. The sentencing, which took place a few weeks later, marked the end of Jonathan's reign of deception. The judge, taking into account the severity of the crime and Jonathan's lack of remorse, handed down a sentence of life behind bars, a fitting punishment for a man who had shattered the lives of those who loved him. As the trial came to a close, the impact of the verdict rippled through the lives of the victims' friends and family. The trial served as a stark reminder of the devastating consequences of greed and the lengths some individuals would go to protect their secrets. Following the conclusion of the trial, the lives of those involved in the case took divergent paths. Jonathan Scale, the mastermind behind the murder of his wife, faced the consequences of his heinous actions as he began his sentence behind bars. The courtroom was abuzz with a mix of emotions as the guilty verdict for his Ponzi scheme was announced, marking the end of Jonathan's reign of deception. Meanwhile, the dedicated police investigators, Detective Morgan Hatoyevsky and Detective Polita Rodriguez, continued their tireless pursuit of justice. They remained committed to ensuring that no stone was left unturned in their quest for truth. Their unwavering determination and meticulous attention to detail were instrumental in bringing Jonathan to justice. In the aftermath of the trial, the community of Newport Beach began to slowly regain its sense of security. The shocking murder had sent shockwaves through the close-knit neighborhood, leaving residents on edge. With Jonathan Scale behind bars, a collective sigh of relief could be felt as the community began to rebuild and restore its once tranquil atmosphere, but not before drawing attention to the intricacies of the criminal justice system and the devastating consequences of greed. The case of Danny Scale, the woman whose dying words exposed her husband's web of lies, serves as a chilling reminder of the darkness that can lurk beneath the surface of seemingly perfect lives. In the affluent city of Newport Beach, a community shattered by deceit and violence learned that even the most charming facade can hide the most sinister secrets. Our story begins with Tanya DeBenko, a 27-year-old manager of a chain of local convenience stores, was known for her unpredictable behavior. Despite her occasional burst of tears and psychotically furious outbursts, Tanya possessed a dreamy demeanor that captivated those around her. Her family and friends described her as a woman with grand aspirations, yearning for a life filled with love and success. In the days leading up to her untimely demise, Tanya was filled with excitement and anticipation, eagerly awaiting her honeymoon in the Bahamas. Tanya's wedding day was a picturesque affair, set against the backdrop of the stunning Canadian Rockies. The ceremony took place at the historic Fairmont Palazzo Hotel, a renowned venue known for hosting extravagant events. The grandeur of the occasion was further enhanced by the presence of notable guests, including local celebrities and prominent figures from Calgary's high society. The wedding reception was a lavish affair, with an opulent feast prepared by one of Calgary's most renowned chefs. The tables were adorned with exquisite floral arrangements created by the renowned local florist, Sarah Richardson. The atmosphere was charged with excitement and joy as the guests danced to the tunes of the popular band, Duran Duran, who were at the height of their fame in 1984. However, amidst the celebration, a sense of unease lingered in the air. Tanya's erratic behavior throughout the day had raised eyebrows and whispered concerns among the attendees. Some speculated that the pressure of the wedding had taken its toll on her, while others whispered about a troubled past that haunted her. As the evening progressed, Tanya's mood seemed to darken. She retreated to a secluded corner of the reception hall, tears streaming down her face. Concerned friends and family members attempted to console her, but their efforts were in vain. Tanya's anguish seemed impenetrable, as if she carried a burden that no one could understand. Little did anyone know that this would be the last time they would see Tanya alive. In the early hours of the following morning, tragedy struck. Tanya Dubinko was found lifeless in her hotel room, her dreams of a blissful honeymoon shattered. And so, the investigation begins. What led to Tanya's untimely demise? Was it a case of foul play or a tragic accident? In the heart of Calgary, a city known for its picturesque landscapes and vibrant culture, a shocking crime unfolded on a day that was meant to be filled with joy and celebration. Tanya Dubinko, a 27-year-old manager of a chain of local convenience stores, was about to embark on a new chapter of her life as a married woman. Little did she know that her wedding day would be marred by tragedy, leaving a community in shock and searching for answers. Tanya, described as a woman with a mix of unpredictable behavior and a dreamy demeanor, had captured the attention of those around her. Her family and friends knew her as someone with grand aspirations, yearning for a life filled with love and success. As the days leading up to her wedding approached, Tanya's excitement and anticipation were palpable. The couple had planned a romantic honeymoon in the Bahamas, a destination that symbolized the beginning of their journey together. But fate had a different plan in store for Tanya and her newlywed husband, Rick Dubinko. Just 2 hours before they were scheduled to depart for their dream honeymoon, tragedy struck. Tanya's lifeless body was discovered in the honeymoon suite, her head brutally smashed against the shower wall, forever shattering the dreams and hopes of a promising future. Rick, who had returned to the suite to retrieve his forgotten wallet, was the one to stumble upon the gruesome scene. The shock and horror of this discovery overwhelmed him, leaving the community divided on his reaction. Some witnesses claimed that Rick appeared strangely calm and collected, while others insisted that he was visibly shaken and distraught, unable to comprehend the magnitude of the tragedy that had befallen his beloved bride. As the investigation into Tanya's untimely demise unfolded, the authorities meticulously combed through every detail, leaving no stone unturned. The search for the truth behind Tanya Dubinko's tragic end continues. As investigators delve into the case, they uncover a web of secrets and hidden motives that could hold the key to unraveling this chilling mystery. The police swiftly responded to the distressing scene at the honeymoon suite, determined to uncover the truth behind the tragic death of Tanya Dubinko. Led by seasoned investigators, Detectives Greg Johnson and Pierre Rambo, the team meticulously examined every inch of the crime scene, leaving no stone unturned. The suite, once a place of joy and anticipation, had transformed into a chilling sight, with bloodstains marking the walls like a macabre canvas. The investigators discovered that Tanya had met a violent end, her life cruelly taken by blunt force trauma to her head. The murder weapon, shockingly, was believed to be the shower wall itself. This revelation sent shockwaves through the tight-knit community of Calgary, Alberta, as they grappled with the horrifying reality that such a heinous crime could occur in their midst. As the investigation unfolded, the police meticulously combed through the suite, collecting and cataloging every piece of evidence. They meticulously documented each detail, creating a comprehensive record of the crime scene. The room was meticulously photographed, capturing the bloodstains, the shattered glass, and the haunting stillness that hung in the air. Detectives Johnson and Rambo interviewed witnesses, friends, and family members, piecing together the events leading up to Tanya's untimely demise. They retraced her steps from the moment she woke up on that fateful day to the tragic discovery of her lifeless body. The investigators examined Tanya's personal belongings, searching for any clues that might shed light on the motive behind this senseless act of violence. News of the murder spread through the city, captivating the attention of the public. The local newspapers, such as the Calgary Herald, dedicated coverage to the case, with headlines that screamed of a shocking crime that had shattered the tranquility of the city. Television news programs, like CBC News, dedicated segments to the investigation, urging anyone with information to come forward. The police, driven by a relentless pursuit of justice, worked tirelessly to solve the case. They consulted forensic experts, analyzed fingerprints, and conducted interviews with potential suspects. The investigation took them down a labyrinth of leads and possibilities, each one meticulously examined and evaluated. As the days turned into weeks, the city of Calgary remained on edge, anxiously awaiting answers to the questions that haunted their collective consciousness. Who could have committed such a heinous act? Was it a crime of passion, or was there something more sinister at play? The investigators remained tight-lipped, their determination unwavering, as they continued to piece together the puzzle that was Tanya Dubinko's murder. The primary suspect in the gruesome crime that shocked the city of Calgary in August 1984 was none other than Rick Dubinko, the newlywed husband of the late Tanya Dubinko. As the investigation unfolded, all eyes turned to Rick, a 28-year-old man of reserved demeanor and few words. The police, driven by their determination to uncover the truth, delved into Rick's life, searching for any hidden secrets that might shed light on the tragic events that unfolded on that fateful day. Rick Dubinko, a man with a calm exterior that belied the storm within, found himself under intense scrutiny. The detectives, led by the seasoned investigators Detectives Johnson and Rambo, interrogated Rick extensively in an effort to discern any signs of guilt or involvement. The interrogation room, a sterile and dimly lit space, became the battleground where truth and deception clashed. During the grueling questioning, Rick maintained his innocence, his voice steady and unwavering. The detectives probed into his background, meticulously piecing together the puzzle of his life. They discovered that Rick had grown up in a small town on the outskirts of Calgary, where he had led a relatively unremarkable existence. He had attended the local high school, graduating with average grades and no notable achievements. In the months leading up to the ill-fated wedding, Rick had been working as a junior accountant at a prominent firm in downtown Calgary. His colleagues described him as a diligent worker, always punctual and meticulous in his tasks. However, his reserved nature had made it difficult for them to truly know him on a personal level. As the detectives dug deeper, they uncovered a few peculiar details about Rick's life. They discovered that he had recently purchased a life insurance policy, naming Tanya as the beneficiary. This revelation raised eyebrows and fueled speculation about Rick's motives. Was he driven by a desire for financial gain? Or was there another, more sinister reason behind his actions? As the investigation into the tragic death of Tanya Dubinko unfolded, a new suspect emerged, adding another layer of complexity to the case. This potential suspect was none other than Frank Pelly, Jr., a well-respected hockey coach at the local high school and the father of the deceased bride. Frank's involvement in this chilling crime stemmed from a shocking revelation that took place just moments before the wedding ceremony. It was on that fateful day in February of 1984 when Frank stumbled upon an illicit affair between Rick Dubinko, Tanya's newlywed husband, and Maria Janet Bosco, one of the bridesmaids. The discovery of this affair left Frank seething with anger and a burning desire for revenge. Eyewitnesses recounted the scene with vivid detail, describing Frank's face turning red with fury as he confronted the illicit couple. The tension in the air was palpable as Frank's booming voice echoed through the halls of the wedding venue. The fallout from this explosive confrontation reverberated through Calgary, Alberta. Rumors spread like wildfire, fueled by the local media's insatiable appetite for scandalous stories. The incident quickly became news, capturing the attention of residents as they sipped their Tim Hortons coffee and flipped through the pages of the Calgary Herald. As the police delved deeper into the case, they meticulously examined Frank's possible motives and involvement in Tanya's murder. They uncovered a man consumed by anger and a burning desire for justice. Frank's love for his daughter was undeniable, but did this love extend to the unthinkable act of murder? Investigators combed through Frank's personal life, interviewing friends, family, and colleagues. They discovered a history of heated arguments and moments of explosive rage. Frank's reputation as a passionate hockey coach was juxtaposed with this darker side, leaving many wondering if his fiery temperament had crossed a line. The investigation into Frank's possible involvement in Tanya's murder continued, with detectives painstakingly gathering evidence and piecing together the puzzle of that fateful day. The truth remained elusive, hidden beneath layers of secrets and emotions. As the community held its breath, waiting for answers, one thing became clear: the search for justice in the case of Tanya Dubinko's murder was far from over. The quest to uncover the truth would require perseverance, determination, and a relentless pursuit of justice. In the ongoing investigation into the shocking murder of Tanya Dubinko, a new suspect emerged, casting doubt on the previously considered individuals. Maria Janet Bosco, the bridesmaid and alleged lover of Tanya's husband, Rick Dubinko, found herself under the intense scrutiny of the police. Maria, a 25-year-old woman entangled in a web of forbidden love and deceit, became a person of interest in this perplexing case. Maria Janet Bosco, a young woman with a captivating presence, had long been a close friend of Tanya's. Their friendship blossomed during their high school years, where they shared countless memories and dreams for the future. However, as the investigation unfolded, it became evident that their friendship had taken a dark turn. Sources close to the investigation revealed that Maria had been engaged in an illicit sexual affair with Rick Dubinko, Tanya's newlywed husband. The revelation of this clandestine relationship sent shockwaves through the tight-knit community of Calgary, Alberta. Rumors of their secret rendezvous spread like wildfire, leaving many questioning the true nature of their involvement. It was on the day of Tanya's wedding, just moments before the ceremony, that Frank Pelly, Jr., Tanya's father, and a respected hockey coach at the local high school, stumbled upon Rick and Maria engaged in sex. The sight of his daughter's husband betraying her trust ignited a fire within Frank, fueling his desire for revenge. As the police turned their attention to Maria, they sought to understand the depths of her motives. Was she driven by a consuming love for Rick, or was there something more sinister at play? Detectives meticulously combed through her personal belongings, uncovering a series of love letters exchanged between Maria and Rick, revealing the intensity of their forbidden romance. During the interrogation, Maria's demeanor varied, leaving the investigators puzzled and uncertain. At times, she appeared remorseful, her eyes welling up with tears as she recounted the events that led to Tanya's untimely demise. Yet, in the next moment, her gaze hardened and her words became guarded, hinting at a hidden truth that she was unwilling to reveal. As the investigation continued, the police were determined to uncover the truth behind Tanya Dubinko's murder. They left no stone unturned in their pursuit of justice, meticulously examining each piece of evidence and questioning every potential suspect. After an exhaustive investigation spanning several months, the truth behind Tanya Dubinko's tragic death finally came to light. The shocking revelation that her own husband, Rick Dubinko, was responsible for her murder sent shockwaves through the community of Calgary, Alberta. Rick Dubinko, a 28-year-old man of seemingly calm demeanor, had evidence pointing to his guilt. The motive behind this heinous crime was rooted in a web of deceit and infidelity. It was discovered that Rick had been engaged in an illicit affair with Maria Janet Bosco, one of the bridesmaids in Tanya's wedding party. According to Rick's account, Tanya confronted him with a knife, leaving him with no choice but to defend himself. In a fit of rage and self-preservation, he claimed to have struck Tanya with a fatal blow to the head, using the shower wall as the murder weapon. The grisly scene that awaited Rick when he returned to the honeymoon suite to retrieve his forgotten wallet would forever haunt the memories of those involved in this chilling case. Throughout the investigation, detectives meticulously combed through the evidence, leaving no stone unturned. The police discovered crucial details that solidified Rick's guilt, including forensic evidence linking him to the murder weapon and witnesses who testified to his volatile relationship with Tanya. In the aftermath of this tragic event, questions still lingered. What could have driven a seemingly calm and reserved man like Rick Dubinko to commit such a heinous act? How did Tanya's discovery of the affair push him to the brink of violence? These questions may never be fully answered, leaving us to reflect on the dark complexities of human nature and the devastating consequences that can arise from secrets and betrayal. On February 13, 1984, the Calgary Police Department made a significant breakthrough in the investigation into the murder of Tanya Dubinko. After weeks of tireless work and relentless pursuit of justice, they finally apprehended the prime suspect, Rick Dubinko, Tanya's husband. The arrest took place in the early hours of the morning as the sun began to rise over the city. Under the watchful eyes of the law, Rick was taken into custody without incident. The scene outside the Dubinko residence was filled with a sense of both relief and sadness as Tanya's family and friends gathered to witness the moment that would mark a turning point in their quest for justice. As news of the arrest spread, the city of Calgary was captivated by the shocking revelations surrounding the case. The story entered the local newspapers, such as the Calgary Herald and the Calgary Sun, as well as local TV news outlets like the CBC and CTV. The community was left reeling from the realization that a seemingly ordinary couple had been harboring such dark secrets. The arrest of Rick Dubinko sent shockwaves through the tight-knit community of Calgary. Residents, still reeling from the recent Winter Olympics held in their city, were forced to confront the harsh reality that even in the aftermath of a successful international event, tragedy could strike close to home. The juxtaposition of the joy and celebration of the Olympics with the somberness of Tanya's murder created a palpable sense of unease among the residents. The Dubinko family, although relieved by the arrest, knew that their journey towards healing was far from over. They would forever carry the weight of Tanya's loss, but they were determined to honor her memory and find a way to move forward. In February of 1984, the courtroom became the stage for the dramatic conclusion of the tragic tale surrounding the murder of Tanya Dubenko. The prosecution, led by seasoned attorney prosecutor Helga Portescu, presented a compelling case against the prime suspect, Rick Dubenko. With a mix of emotions, the victim's family watched as justice was sought for their beloved daughter. Prosecutor Portescu meticulously laid out the evidence, painting a vivid picture of Rick's guilt. She called upon witnesses who testified to Rick's affair with Maria Janet Bosco, the bridesmaid, and the motive it provided for Tanya's murder. The courtroom was captivated as the prosecution presented phone records, hotel receipts, and eyewitness accounts, all pointing to Rick's involvement in the heinous crime. Defense attorney Sully Daniels, a skilled lawyer known for his ability to cast doubt, countered the prosecution's argument. He questioned the reliability of the witnesses, suggesting they had their own motives for testifying against Rick. Daniels argued that the evidence presented was circumstantial and did not definitively prove Rick's guilt. The trial lasted for weeks, with both sides passionately presenting their case. The victim's family, their hearts heavy with grief, anxiously awaited the verdict that would determine the fate of their daughter's murderer. The media surrounding the trial was intense, with reporters from local newspapers and television stations providing updates on the proceedings. Finally, on a fateful day in February, the jury reached a decision. The courtroom fell silent as the verdict was read aloud. The judge, swayed by Rick's claims of self-defense, handed down a sentence that left many stunned. Rick Dubenko was found guilty of manslaughter, but due to the circumstances surrounding the crime, he received a lenient sentence of only 2 months in prison. The decision sparked a wave of controversy and debate. Some felt that justice had not been served, questioning the validity of the self-defense claim and the leniency of the sentence. The victim's family, torn between relief that Rick would face some form of consequence and anguish over the perceived injustice, struggled to find closure. As the trial came to a close, the effects of the verdict rippled through the lives of those involved. The victim's family, forever altered by the loss of their daughter, grappled with their perception of the justice system. The media coverage surrounding the trial slowly faded away, but the impact of Tanya Dubenko's tragic death would forever be etched in the memories of those who followed the case. In the aftermath of the trial, life moved on for those involved in this tragic tale. Rick Dubenko, the man responsible for Tanya's untimely death, served his 2-month sentence behind bars. The walls of the correctional facility became his new reality, a stark reminder of the consequences of his actions. Meanwhile, Tanya's family, forever changed by the loss of their beloved daughter, found solace in their shared memories and the support of their community. They leaned on each other for strength, finding comfort in the knowledge that justice had been served, albeit with a lenient sentence. The scars left by Rick's violent act would forever haunt them, but they vowed to honor Tanya's memory by advocating for victims of domestic violence. The investigation team, led by Detectives Johnson and Rambo, continued their relentless pursuit of justice. Although the trial had concluded, their work was far from over. They were determined to ensure that cases like Tanya's would not be forgotten, and that perpetrators of such heinous crimes would be held accountable. The echoes of Tanya's murder reverberated through the lives of those involved in the investigation. The team meticulously documented every detail, creating a comprehensive case file that would serve as a reminder of the brutality and tragedy that occurred in February of 1984. Their dedication to seeking the truth was unwavering, and their efforts garnered attention from the media and the public alike. As life moved on for those involved, the scars left by this tragic tale would forever shape their future endeavors. Rick Dubenko, haunted by the weight of his actions, would carry the burden of his crime for the rest of his life. Tanya's family, determined to honor her memory, would continue to advocate for victims of domestic violence, ensuring that her story would not be forgotten. And the investigation team, driven by their pursuit of justice, would remain vigilant, ensuring that cases like Tanya's would always be remembered. As we close this chapter of True Crime Case Files, we reflect on the chilling tale of Tanya Dubenko's murder. Set against the backdrop of a wedding gone awry, this story serves as a stark reminder of the darkness that can lurk beneath the surface of even the most joyous occasions. The consequences of betrayal and unchecked emotions can lead to devastating outcomes, forever altering the lives of those involved. Our unfortunate victim is Lacey Cavalcante, a vibrant and outgoing 23-year-old woman. Lacey, originally from Newark, New Jersey, had relocated to Medford, Oregon to escape a difficult family life. Her father's sentence for 75 years in prison for involvement with the mafia had forced her to leave everything behind and start anew in this quaint town nestled in the Pacific Northwest. Lacey found employment as a waitress at Sherry's Cafe and Pies, a popular chain of diners prevalent in the Pacific Northwest during that time. With its cozy ambience and delectable pies, Sherry's Cafe and Pies had become a favorite spot in Medford for locals and tourists alike. Lacey's dedication and hard work had earned her a commendable reputation among the cafe's patrons. However, behind Lacey's professional success, her personal life was filled with drama and intrigue. Lacey's magnetic personality drew the attention of many suitors, but it was her involvement with these two individuals that captivated the imagination. Her fiery personality. She found herself entangled in two separate love affairs, each with its own complexities. The first affair involved a married man, David Cathcart, a 42-year-old man. This clandestine relationship had been ongoing for several months, and the secrecy surrounding it added fuel to the already fiery passion between Lacey and David. The second affair was even more scandalous. Lacey had become romantically involved with a high school cheerleader, Tracy Gartrell, an 18-year-old senior. This forbidden love affair had not yet caught the attention of the local gossip mongers, as its revelation would have defied societal norms and shocked the conservative community of Medford. As we delve deeper into this gripping true crime case, we will uncover the intricate web of relationships and the events involved in Lacey's tragic demise. On a sunny afternoon in June 1987, the small community of Medford, Oregon was rocked by a shocking and brutal crime. Lacey Cavalcante, a vibrant 23-year-old woman with a complicated past, met a tragic end in her own apartment. The discovery of her lifeless body sent shockwaves through the tight-knit community, leaving everyone wondering who could have committed such a heinous act. It was on that fateful day, June 22, 1987, that Lacey's life was tragically cut short. Her lifeless body was discovered in the bathroom of her apartment by a close friend, Gina Hausman. Gina, who had been visiting Lacey, was overcome with shock and fear upon making the gruesome discovery. She wasted no time in contacting the authorities, her voice trembling as she described the horrifying scene. The Medford Police Department swiftly responded to the call, cordoning off the area and launching a thorough investigation. The crime scene was meticulously examined for any evidence that could lead to the identification of the perpetrator. Detectives interviewed neighbors, friends, and colleagues, hoping to uncover any leads that could shed light on the motive behind this senseless act of violence. As news of Lacey's murder spread throughout the community, local residents were gripped with fear and disbelief. The once peaceful town of Medford found itself thrust into the spotlight of a real-life crime drama. The case garnered attention from local media outlets, who covered every development with a keen interest. In the coming days, the police would work tirelessly to unravel the mysteries surrounding Lacey's death. The search for answers would take them down a winding path of secrets and deceit, as they delved into the lives of those closest to the victim. The police, headed by Detective Janet Johnson and Officer Linda Parker, swiftly responded to the distressing discovery of Lacey Cavalcante's lifeless body in her apartment bathroom on June 22, 1987. The small city of Medford, Oregon was shaken to its core by this chilling and calculated act of violence. Upon arrival, the officers were greeted by a harrowing scene. The warm and sunny weather outside contrasted sharply with the bloodstains that marred the bathroom floor. It was immediately apparent that Lacey had met a tragic end, having been shot to death. With a sense of urgency, Detective Johnson and Officer Parker meticulously combed through the crime scene, leaving no stone unturned in their pursuit of justice. They carefully collected fingerprints, blood samples, and any other potential leads that could shed light on the events leading up to Lacey's untimely demise. The investigation was not limited to the confines of the crime scene. The dedicated officers reached out to Sherry's Cafe and Pies,
where Lacey had been employed as a successful waitress. They interviewed her co-workers and regular customers, hoping to uncover any information that could prove crucial to solving the case. In their pursuit of justice, the police also sought the assistance of the local community. They appealed to Medford residents, urging them to come forward with any information, no matter how insignificant it may seem. The case quickly captured the attention of the media, with newspapers such as the Oregonian and the Mail Tribune publishing headlines that gripped the public's attention. As the investigation progressed, the officers meticulously documented their findings, creating a detailed timeline of events leading up to Lacey's murder. They cross-referenced witness statements, analyzed phone records, and reviewed surveillance footage from nearby establishments, hoping to catch a glimpse of the perpetrator. Days turned into weeks, and the community anxiously awaited news of a breakthrough in the case. The investigation would take unexpected twists and turns, revealing shocking secrets and hidden motives. Medford would never be the same again, forever marked by the tragic events of that fateful June day. David Cathcart, a 42-year-old local business owner who had been romantically involved with the victim, Lacey Cavalcante, emerged as one of the primary suspects in this chilling murder case that rocked the small community of Medford, Oregon in June of 1987. Described as a man of wealth and influence, Cathcart possessed a magnetic charm that had captivated many in his social circle. However, behind his polished facade lay a dark and deceitful nature that had begun to unravel as the investigation unfolded. The police, led by the diligent detective Janet Johnson and Officer Linda Parker, focused their attention on Cathcart, delving into his possible motives and unraveling the intricate web of his relationship with the deceased. Interviews with friends and acquaintances revealed a complex and tumultuous affair that had ensnared both Cathcart and Cavalcante. As the investigation progressed, the police discovered a trove of evidence that pointed to Cathcart's possible involvement in the crime. They meticulously examined phone records, uncovering numerous late-night calls between the suspect and the victim in the weeks leading up to the murder. Witnesses also reported seeing Cathcart near the victim's apartment building on the day of the crime. Adding to the mounting suspicion, the police interrogated Cathcart intensively, employing a combination of psychological tactics and evidence-based questioning. His responses ranged from vehement denial to angry outbursts, with occasional attempts to deflect blame onto others. However, the investigators remained steadfast, determined to uncover the truth behind this heinous act. In their pursuit of justice, the police also reached out to the public for assistance. They released a statement to the local media, urging anyone with information related to the case to come forward. As the days turned into weeks, the pressure on Cathcart intensified. The media spotlight grew brighter, shining a harsh light on his every move. The once charismatic figure found himself thrust into the center of a storm, with public opinion teetering between curiosity and condemnation. Tracy Gartrell, an 18-year-old high school cheerleader, emerged as a person of interest in the murder investigation of Lacey Cavalcante. Tracy, a student at Medford High School, was known for her bubbly personality and her involvement in various extracurricular activities. She was a popular figure among her peers, often seen leading the cheerleading squad during football games and participating in school events. However, beneath Tracy's cheerful demeanor, a darker side was uncovered. The police began to suspect that Tracy's involvement with Lacey went beyond a simple love affair. They believed that Tracy's fear of her secret relationship being exposed might have driven her to commit a heinous act. During the interrogation, Tracy's emotions were on full display. She oscillated between anger, fear, and confusion. Her face flushed with frustration as she vehemently denied any involvement in Lacey's murder. However, her body language betrayed her nervousness as she fidgeted with her fingers and avoided eye contact with the detectives. Detective Janet Johnson, a seasoned investigator with an impressive track record, skillfully probed Tracy for answers. She asked about Tracy's relationship with Lacey, trying to uncover any potential motives or conflicts that could have led to the tragic event. Tracy's responses were evasive, often deflecting the questions or providing vague and contradictory explanations.
As the interrogation intensified, Detective Johnson presented Tracy with the evidence gathered from the crime scene. The blood-stained bathroom floor, the bullet casings, and the fingerprints found at the scene were all meticulously laid out before Tracy. The weight of the evidence seemed to bear down on her, causing her previously confident facade to crumble. Tracy's demeanor shifted from anger to fear as she realized the gravity of the situation. The police had pieced together a timeline of events, placing Tracy near the scene of the crime on the day of the murder. Witnesses had reported seeing her in the vicinity of Lacey's apartment building, raising suspicions about her involvement. The investigation into Tracy's background revealed a troubled past. The pressure to maintain her popularity and status within the high school social hierarchy weighed heavily on her. The fear of her secret affair becoming public knowledge, something that would destroy her reputation in this conservative community, seemed to have pushed her to the edge. The investigation was far from over, but Tracy's involvement in the murder case had become a focal point. The detectives would continue to dig deeper, uncovering more details and pursuing justice for Lacey Cavalcante. As the investigation into the murder of Lacey Cavalcante intensified, a breakthrough moment occurred when the police stumbled upon a hidden stash of letters in the office of David Cathcart, one of the primary suspects. The discovery of these letters sent shockwaves through the tight-knit community of Medford, Oregon, as their contents revealed a web of manipulation and deceit that few could have imagined. The date was June 27, 1987, a cloudy and overcast day that matched the somber mood of the investigation. Detective Janet Johnson and Officer Linda Parker, leading the charge in solving this heinous crime, meticulously combed through David Cathcart's office, hoping to find any clue that could shed light on Lacey's murder. As they sifted through stacks of papers and files, their eyes fell upon a seemingly innocuous wooden box tucked away in a corner. Opening the box, the detectives were greeted by a trove of letters, each one meticulously preserved with a sense of secrecy. The letters, written in Lacey's elegant handwriting, painted a picture of a woman caught in a dangerous game of love and manipulation. In these missives, apparently written to herself, Lacey detailed her tumultuous affairs with both David Cathcart and Tracy Gartrell, the high school cheerleader who had also become entangled in her web of deceit. The letters revealed a calculated plan, carefully orchestrated by Lacey herself, to pit her two lovers against each other. She played them like puppets, manipulating their emotions and desires to suit her own twisted agenda of a sordid sexual competition. The extent of her control over these two individuals was both chilling and disturbing. As news of the letters spread, the community of Medford was left reeling. The local newspaper, the Medford Tribune, ran front-page headlines proclaiming love and deceit unraveled. Lacey's letters exposed dark secrets. The town's residents, already shocked by the brutal murder of Lacey, now found themselves grappling with the realization that the victim they thought they knew had a hidden side. The police, armed with this newfound evidence, intensified their investigation into David Cathcart and Tracy Gartrell. They sought to uncover the truth behind Lacey's death and bring the puppet master to justice. In the relentless pursuit of justice, the investigation into the tragic murder of Lacey Cavalcante took an unexpected turn as the focus shifted to a seasoned private investigator named Michael Hampe. Hampe, known for his reputation as a truth seeker, had been hired by none other than Rebecca Cathcart, the wife of David Cathcart, one of the primary suspects in this chilling case. The police, driven by their commitment to uncovering the truth, meticulously interrogated Hampe, delving into his possible motives and his role in the murder. Hampe, a man of calm demeanor, stood firmly in his innocence, maintaining his dedication to uncovering the truth behind Lacey's untimely demise. During the intense questioning, Hampe revealed that his involvement in the case stemmed from Rebecca Cathcart's suspicions about her husband's extramarital affair with Lacey. The discovery of this affair had sent shockwaves through the Cathcart household, prompting Rebecca to seek the services of a private investigator to uncover the truth. Hampe, armed with his intuition and a steadfast commitment to his profession, embarked on a thorough investigation. He meticulously combed through phone records, financial transactions, and witness statements, leaving no stone unturned in his quest to uncover the truth. As the investigation progressed, Hampe stumbled upon a series of incriminating letters hidden in David Cathcart's office. These letters, penned by Lacey herself, revealed a web of manipulation and deceit, a sexual competition she had created that had ensnared the lives of those involved. The letters provided a chilling glimpse into the mind of a master manipulator, leaving the police astounded by the depth of deception. In his pursuit of justice, Hampe collaborated closely with Detective Janet Johnson and Officer Linda Parker, sharing his findings and insights. Together, they meticulously pieced together the puzzle, connecting the dots between the suspects and the evidence. As the investigation into Lacey Cavalcante's murder continued, the police, armed with the newfound evidence and Hampe's unwavering determination, inched closer to unraveling the truth. With each passing day, the web of deceit surrounding this case began to unravel, revealing a shocking climax. In a stunning turn of events, David Cathcart, the lover of the late Lacey Cavalcante, accused his own wife, Rebecca Cathcart, of orchestrating the murder that rocked the community in June of 1987. The small city was left reeling as the truth behind this chilling crime came to light. The investigation took an unexpected turn when David Cathcart, a 42-year-old influential figure in the community, revealed the dark secrets hidden within his seemingly perfect marriage. In a dramatic confrontation, David claimed that his wife, Rebecca, had been manipulating him for years, using him as a pawn in her sinister quest for power and control. In a press conference set up outside of his sizable house, he accused his wife with the memorable words, "My wife is the puppet master." The police, armed with this shocking revelation, meticulously gathered evidence against Rebecca Cathcart. They uncovered a motive that sent shockwaves through the community, a desire to protect her own reputation in Medford's social scene and to salvage her seemingly perfect marriage. Detective Janet Johnson and Officer Linda Parker, leading the investigation, worked tirelessly to gather evidence that would support David's claims. They meticulously combed through the couple's financial records, phone records, and personal belongings, searching for any piece of evidence that would link Rebecca to the murder. Their efforts paid off when they discovered a hidden stash of letters in David Cathcart's office. These letters, meticulously saved by Rebecca, revealed a web of manipulation and deceit that left the investigators astounded. The letters detailed Rebecca's plan to murder Lacey Cavalcante, her husband's mistress, and the woman who threatened to expose her secrets. The police wasted no time in arresting Rebecca Cathcart, leaving her stunned by the swift turn of events. The evidence against her was overwhelming, leaving little doubt in the minds of the investigators. The victim's family, already devastated by their loss, was left in disbelief as they struggled to comprehend the sinister truth that had been lurking beneath the surface. The trial that followed the shocking murder of Lacey Cavalcante was a highly emotional and closely watched affair. The prosecution, led by attorney Lawson Chambers, meticulously built a compelling case against Rebecca Cathcart, the accused mastermind behind the murder plot. Chambers, known for his tenacity and unwavering pursuit of justice, presented a wealth of evidence to support the charges. Throughout the trial, the courtroom was filled with tension and raw emotions. The victim's family, friends, and members of the community anxiously awaited the verdict, hoping for closure and justice for Lacey. The defense, represented by attorney Robert P. Rothbury, fought fiercely to protect Rebecca's innocence, arguing that the evidence against her was circumstantial and insufficient. During the trial, the prosecution called a series of witnesses to the stand, including Detective Janet Johnson and Officer Linda Parker, who had led the initial investigation. They testified about the meticulous gathering of evidence and the discovery of the hidden stash of letters in David Cathcart's office, which revealed Rebecca's manipulation and deceit. The defense, on the other hand, attempted to cast doubt on the prosecution's case. They called several character witnesses who testified to Rebecca's good standing in the community and her seemingly perfect marriage to David Cathcart. They argued that the evidence against Rebecca was weak and that there could be other plausible explanations for the crime.
The jury, consisting of 12 individuals carefully selected for their impartiality, deliberated for several days. Their task was not an easy one, as the evidence presented was complex and required careful consideration. Finally, on a tense Friday afternoon, the verdict was delivered. Rebecca Cathcart was found guilty of orchestrating the murder of Lacey Cavalcante. The courtroom erupted in a mix of relief, tears, and disbelief. The impact of the verdict reverberated through the lives of the victims' friends and family, forever altering their perception of the world. The sentencing, however, left some divided. Rebecca Cathcart was sentenced to only 6 years in prison, a decision that sparked controversy and debate. Some felt that the punishment was too lenient, given the severity of the crime and the manipulation involved. Others believed that justice had been served, as the evidence against Rebecca was not as concrete as in other cases. Following the dramatic conclusion of the trial, the lives of those involved in the case took unexpected turns. David Cathcart, once a wealthy and influential man, found himself divorced and estranged from his former wife, Rebecca Cathcart. The scandalous affair and subsequent murder had shattered the illusion of his seemingly perfect life. David, now a broken man, retreated from the public eye, seeking solace in the quiet corners of his own remorse. Tracy Gartrell, the high school cheerleader entangled in a love affair, faced a difficult road to redemption. Her once promising future was marred by the scandal, and she struggled to regain her footing. The small town of Medford, known for its tight-knit community, watched as Tracy attempted to rebuild her life, facing the judgment and whispers of her peers. The scars left by her involvement in the affair served as a constant reminder of the consequences of her actions. As the years passed, the small community of Medford slowly moved on from the shocking events of June 1987. The local Sherry's Cafe and Pies, where Lacey had worked, became a symbol of the tragedy that had unfolded, forever etched in the memories of the townspeople. The wounds left by the events of June 1987 may have healed, but the scars remained, a constant reminder of the fragility of life and the importance of seeking justice. And so concludes our episode of True Crime Case Files. This chilling tale of manipulation, deceit, and murder serves as a reminder that darkness can lurk behind the most seemingly perfect facades.
David Dane was a 48-year-old kindergarten teacher who lived in Tampa, Florida. He taught at Sunny Days Kindergarten, where he had worked for 25 years. David was well loved by his students and their parents. He was known for his engaging teaching style and charismatic personality. David lived with his wife, Jennifer, and their 2 teenage children, Emily and Jacob. The Dane family was active in their church and often participated in community events. David had always dreamed of being a teacher, despite being a man in a predominantly female field, and was passionate about his work. His classroom was filled with colorful posters, educational toys, and books from popular series like Magic Treehouse and the Berenstain Bears. He often used songs and games to make learning fun for his students. Despite his professional success, David had a complicated personal life. He and Jennifer had been married for 20 years, but their relationship had grown strained. Jennifer, a stay-at-home mom, had become suspicious of David's frequent absences and odd behavior. She often noticed him texting late at night and leaving the house without explanation. In the days leading up to his death, David's behavior became more erratic. He missed family dinners and church events, claiming he had important meetings. Jennifer grew increasingly frustrated, and their arguments became more frequent. Friends noticed that David seemed distracted and preoccupied. On the night before his death, David was seen leaving a local diner, the Four Green Fields, where he had met with several individuals described as suspicious. Witnesses reported that David appeared nervous and agitated. On the morning of June 14, 2017, Carla Rodriguez, a fellow teacher at Sunny Days Kindergarten, arrived at the school early. It was around 7:30 a.m., and she was preparing for the day ahead. Carla noticed something unusual as she walked past the playground. David Dane's body was lying on the ground near the jungle gym. Carla was shocked and terrified. David's body was covered in blood, and it was clear something terrible had happened. She saw that he had been shot and that his eyes were missing. Carla immediately called 911, her hands shaking as she dialed. "There's been a murder at Sunny Days Kindergarten," she told the operator, trying to stay calm. The news of the murder spread quickly. Reporters from local media outlets like the Tampa Bay Times and television stations such as WLA News Channel 8 rushed to the scene. By 8:00 a.m., the kindergarten was surrounded by police cars and news vans. Carla was still in shock, but she managed to describe what she had seen to Detective Mercer. She explained that David had seemed fine the day before, although he had been acting a bit distracted lately. Carla couldn't believe that something so horrible had happened at their school. As police surveyed the playground, they noted the blood spattered on the ground and the gruesome condition of David's body. It was a chilling sight, and it was clear that this was a violent and deliberate act. The playground, usually a place of joy and laughter, was now a crime scene. The police set up a perimeter around the kindergarten and began their investigation. They interviewed other teachers and staff members, searching for any clues that might explain what had happened. Parents who arrived to drop off their children were turned away, and the school was closed for the day. News of the murder spread throughout Tampa, and soon the entire community was talking about the shocking event. People were frightened and confused, wondering who could have committed such a terrible crime. The discovery of David Dane's body marked the beginning of a complex and disturbing investigation. The police were determined to uncover the truth and bring the perpetrator to justice. The police arrived quickly at Sunnyday's kindergarten after Carla Rodriguez's 911 call on the morning of June 14, 2017. By 8:00 a.m., Detective John Mercer and his team were on the scene. Detective Mercer, a 45-year-old investigator known for his attention to detail, took charge immediately. Detective Mercer instructed officers to secure the playground and keep onlookers and media at a distance. The scene was grim. David Dane's body lay near the jungle gym, with blood spattered on the ground and equipment. He had been shot twice with a 9mm, and his eyes had been gouged out with a knife. The brutality of the crime was shocking. Detective Mercer and his team began their investigation. They carefully examined the playground, taking photos and collecting evidence. They found 2 9mm shell casings near the body. Forensic experts took DNA swabs and collected fingerprints from the playground equipment. They also gathered samples of the blood for analysis. The crime scene was a mess. The once cheerful playground, usually filled with children's laughter, was now a place of horror. Brightly colored swings and slides contrasted sharply with the dark reality of the murder. Detective Mercer noted the eeriness of the scene and the contrast between the violence and the innocent setting. The police interviewed Carla Rodriguez, who had discovered the body. Carla described her shock and fear when she saw David. She also mentioned that David had seemed distracted lately, but hadn't shown any signs of fear or distress. Detective Mercer and his team also spoke with other teachers and staff members. They learned that David had been a well-liked teacher, but had recently exhibited unusual behavior. He often stayed late at the school and had been seen with people who were not staff or parents. The investigation extended beyond the school. Detectives visited David's home and interviewed his wife, Jennifer Dane. Jennifer admitted that their marriage had been strained due to David's frequent absences and odd behavior. The police also checked David's phone and computer for clues. They found numerous text messages and emails suggesting that David was involved in activities outside his teaching job. These messages hinted at secret meetings and possible illegal activities. The crime scene investigation at Sunnyday's kindergarten was thorough and meticulous. Detective Mercer and his team were determined to find out who had committed this brutal murder and why. The playground, once a symbol of joy, had become the starting point of a complex and disturbing case. The police turned their attention to Jennifer Dane, David's wife. Jennifer, 39, was a stay-at-home mom devoted to their 2 teenage children, Emily and Jacob. Known for her active role in her church and community, Jennifer seemed like the perfect wife and mother. However, the police needed to investigate everyone close to David. Jennifer was brought in for questioning on June 15, 2017, the day after David's body was found. Detective John Mercer led the interrogation. He asked Jennifer about her relationship with David and her activities on the night of the murder. Jennifer described her marriage as strained. She admitted that David had been acting strangely for months. He often came home late and made excuses about meetings and work. Jennifer suspected he was having an affair but had no proof. Despite her suspicions, she claimed she had no idea about his involvement in illicit activities. During the interrogation, Jennifer remained calm. She answered questions clearly and showed no signs of panic. However, her resentment toward David was evident. She talked about the frequent arguments they had and how she felt abandoned by him. Jennifer mentioned she had considered hiring a private investigator to follow David, but decided against it. The police also looked into Jennifer's activities on the night of the murder. She said she was at home with her children, which Emily and Jacob confirmed. The family had dinner together and watched the Disney movie Moana. Jennifer insisted she had no reason to kill David, despite their marital problems. Detective Mercer and his team checked Jennifer's phone records and found nothing suspicious. There were no late-night calls or texts that indicated she was involved in the murder. They also spoke to neighbors and friends who vouched for her character and described her as a loving mother and dedicated church member. Despite the lack of evidence directly linking Jennifer to the crime, the police couldn't ignore her motive. Jennifer had a reason to be angry and hurt by David's actions. Detective Mercer noted that while she seemed innocent, her calm demeanor could be a sign of hiding something. The investigation into Jennifer Dane left the police with more questions than answers. While she had a possible motive, there was no concrete evidence tying her to the murder. The police knew they needed to continue digging to uncover the truth. On June 16, 2017, just 2 days after David Dane's body was discovered, new evidence emerged that would change the direction of the investigation. It was a hot and unbearably humid day in Tampa, Florida. Around 2 p.m., police officers discovered new evidence that would change the course of their investigation. A maintenance worker was cleaning the storage room at Sunny Hills Kindergarten when he found a hidden camera behind a stack of books. Confused and scared, he immediately called the police. Detectives arrived at the scene quickly. They carefully collected the hidden camera and took it to the police station for further examination. The camera contained shocking footage. It showed David Dane filming and participating in dozens of adult movies filmed in the kindergarten after hours. Even more disturbing, the footage revealed David forcing the kindergarten kids to fight each other in something he called Hunger Games Jr. The detectives were horrified. They could not believe what they were seeing. The children looked scared and hurt as he told them he would withhold food from them as encouragement to fight more aggressively. They knew they had to act fast to protect the kids and find out who else was involved. Detective Mercer, who was known for determination and compassion, was deeply affected by the footage. He vowed to bring justice to the victims. The police department called in a special team of forensic experts to analyze the footage. They used advanced software to enhance the video quality and identify the people involved. The experts worked around the clock, carefully studying every detail. They found evidence of at least 25 different women in the videos participating in sex with David, including a woman named Lara Wachtro. The police also discovered financial records showing large sums of money being transferred to David's account from various sources. This money was believed to be from bets placed on the children's fights. Detective Mercer, who was also known for his analytical skills, carefully traced the transactions back to their sources. This led to several new leads, including people who placed bets on the fights. In addition, police have found a series of texts between David and Lara Wachtro. The messages were sexually explicit and revealed that David had been having an affair with Lara, beyond their involvement in adult movies. This discovery added a new layer to the case and provided the police with a potential new suspect. After discovering the hidden camera footage, the police turned their attention to Lara Wachtro, one of the estimated 25 women David Dane had been sexually involved with. Lara was a 21-year-old with a fierce and independent personality. She worked as a barista at a local Starbucks and was known for her intense and passionate nature. On June 17, 2017, detectives visited Lara at her apartment. It was a humid and hot morning in Tampa. Lara was initially nervous but agreed to talk. She admitted she first met David while filming an adult movie, using the name Daisy Hyman, filmed at the kindergarten where he worked. She described David as charming and persuasive, someone who could easily convince people to do what he wanted. Lara told the detectives she had grown increasingly frustrated with David. He had promised to leave his wife, Jennifer, for her, but he never did. She was angry and felt betrayed. Lara explained that she knew about David's double life, but was too scared to go to the police. She feared for her safety and said she didn't know anything about the children involved in the fight ring. During the interrogation, Lara remained calm but showed signs of emotional distress. She provided the detectives with more details about the adult movies and the fight ring. Lara revealed that David was making a lot of money from these illegal activities and that many notables in the community were involved. She gave names of individuals who placed bets on the children's fights, which gave the police several new leads to investigate. Lara's information was crucial. It helped the detectives understand the extent of David's operations and the number of people involved. Detective Mercer, known for his empathetic approach, could see that Lara was a victim in her own way. She was manipulated and used by David, much like the other women and children. Mercer assured Lara that the police would protect her if she cooperated fully with the investigation. The detectives also checked Lara's phone records and found numerous text messages and calls between her and David. These messages confirmed her story about their relationship and David's promises to leave his wife. Lara's cooperation gave the police valuable insights and led them closer to uncovering the full truth about David Dane's secret life and the people involved in his crimes. After speaking with Lara Wachtro, the detectives turned their focus to Jordan Alarcon Perico. Jordan was a 24-year-old single father and construction worker who had recently moved to Tampa from Cuba. He had discovered unusual bruises on his son's body and was deeply concerned. On June 18, 2017, at around 11 a.m., Detectives Maria Lopes and John Harris visited Jordan at his construction site. It was another hot, sunny day in Tampa. Jordan was tough and protective, traits that helped him survive the hardships of fleeing Cuba. When the detectives approached him, he was initially defensive but agreed to speak when they explained the situation. Jordan told the detectives that he had become suspicious when his son, Nathaniel, a student at Sunny Hills Kindergarten, came home with bruises and a scared look. Nathaniel eventually confessed that he was forced to fight other children at school or he wouldn't be fed. Jordan was furious and confronted David Dane just days before his murder. He described David as smug and dismissive during their confrontation. During the interrogation, Jordan's anger was evident. He felt betrayed by someone he trusted to care for his child. However, he maintained his innocence, insisting he did not kill David. He admitted to confronting David but claimed he walked away when David threatened to call the police on him. The detectives carefully examined Jordan's alibi for the time of David's murder. They checked his work records and spoke to his co-workers, who confirmed that Jordan was at the construction site during the time of the murder. This alibi made it unlikely that Jordan was the killer. Detective Mercer, known for his keen sense of intuition, felt that Jordan's anger was genuine but not indicative of guilt. He believed that he was a protective father who wanted to shield his son from further harm. Detective Harris, with his analytical approach, focused on verifying Jordan's statements and looking for any inconsistencies. The police also examined Jordan's phone records and found no evidence of communication with David or any of the individuals involved in the adult movies or fight ring. This further supported Jordan's claim that he was not part of David's criminal activities. Jordan's information added another layer to the investigation. It confirmed the existence of the fight ring and provided insight into the abuse the children endured. While Jordan was not the murderer, his account helped the detectives build a clearer picture of David Dane's secret and dark life. The detectives knew they were getting closer to uncovering the full truth and finding justice for the victims. On June 25, 2017, the police pieced together all the evidence and identified Jennifer Dane, David's wife, as the murderer. Jennifer was 39 years old and the stay-at-home mom devoted to their 2 teenage children. She was active in her church and often seen volunteering at local events. In short, she was the perfect woman. However, her life took a dark turn when she discovered David's Murderous affairs and his involvement in filming adult movies at the kindergarten where he worked. Jennifer's world shattered further when she found out about the underground fight ring where David forced the children he cared for to fight. Driven by anger and a sense of betrayal, Jennifer decided to end David's double life. She saw herself as a biblical angel of mercy, determined to protect the children from further harm. On the evening of June 30, 2017, Jennifer confronted David at the kindergarten playground. She shot him twice with a 9mm gun and then gouged out his eyes with a knife, a symbolic act representing her disgust and anger. She believed that by doing this, she was saving the children and putting an end to David's heinous acts. Detectives worked tirelessly to connect the dots. They found traces of gunpowder on Jennifer's clothes and discovered a 9mm gun hidden in their garage. The gun matched the bullets found in David's body. Additionally, phone records showed Jennifer had discovered David's secret activities through text messages and emails she had accessed. On June 15, at 3 p.m., the police arrived at the Dane residence to arrest Jennifer. It was a tense and emotional scene. Jennifer appeared calm and did not resist arrest. She seemed almost relieved that her ordeal was over. Detective Lopez, known for her compassionate approach, carefully explained the charges to Jennifer, who listened quietly. The news of Jennifer's arrest shocked the community. David's double life and the truth about the kindergarten fight ring left many parents horrified. When Jennifer was taken into custody, David's family had mixed reactions. Some were angry and felt betrayed by Jennifer, while others were sympathetic, understanding the rage and horror she must have felt. Jennifer's arrest brought a sense of closure to the investigation. The detectives knew they had uncovered the full truth and brought the person responsible to justice. The case highlighted the importance of vigilance and the need to protect the innocent from those who would harm them. The trial of Jennifer Dane for the murder of her husband, David Dane, began on September 10, 2018. The courtroom was filled with reporters from local news outlets like the Tampa Bay Times and WFLA News Channel 8. The case had garnered significant attention due to the shocking nature of the crime and the revelations about David's double life. The prosecution was led by Assistant State Attorney Marquez, a 50-year-old known for his meticulous approach and strong courtroom presence. In his opening statement, Hayes painted Jennifer as a betrayed and enraged wife who sought revenge for her husband's infidelity and secret activities. He detailed how Jennifer had discovered David's affairs and his involvement in the underground fighting ring. Hayes argued that Jennifer had planned the murder meticulously, shooting David and then gouging out his eyes to make a statement. The defense attorney, Clara Mitchell, a 45-year-old with a reputation for passionately defending her clients, argued that Jennifer was a devoted wife and mother pushed to the brink by her husband's betrayal. Mitchell emphasized Jennifer's role in the community and her dedication to her family. She claimed that Jennifer had no prior history of violence and suggested that the real murderer could be one of David's associates from the fighting ring or his many affairs. The trial lasted for 3 weeks. Testimonies from witnesses, including Carla Rodriguez and Lara Wachtro, painted a picture of David's complicated life. The prosecution presented evidence, including the shell casings found at the scene and Jennifer's text messages expressing her anger and hurt. Throughout the trial, the Dane family's emotions ran high. Emily and Jacob, David and Jennifer's teenage children, were often seen in the courtroom, looking devastated. Friends and neighbors who had known the Danes for years struggled to reconcile the loving family they knew with the dark secrets being revealed. On October 2, 2018, the jury delivered their verdict. Jennifer Dane was found guilty of first-degree murder. The courtroom was silent as the judge read the sentence: life in prison without the possibility of parole. Jennifer showed little reaction, her face pale and expressionless. The impact of the verdict was profound. David's family and friends expressed relief that justice had been served, but there was also a deep sense of loss and sorrow. The community of Tampa was left to grapple with the reality that a beloved teacher and community member had led such a double life and met such a tragic end. After Jennifer Dane was sentenced to life in prison, the community of Tampa tried to return to normal. However, the shock of David Dane's murder and the revelations of his secret life left a lasting impact on everyone involved. Jennifer Dane began her life sentence at the Florida State Prison. She maintained her innocence, often writing letters to her children, Emily and Jacob, who struggled with the loss of both parents. Jennifer's church and some friends continued to support her, believing she had been pushed to the edge by David's betrayal. Emily, 17, and Jacob, 15, moved in with their maternal grandparents. They tried to continue their lives, but the trauma of their father's death and their mother's imprisonment affected them deeply. Both teens received counseling and support from their school, Jefferson High, to help them cope with the tragedy. They found solace in activities they loved. Emily focused on her art, and Jacob immersed himself in sports, particularly soccer. Detective John Mercer and his team returned to their regular duties, but couldn't forget the Dane case. The investigation had been one of the most complex of Mercer's career. He felt a mixture of satisfaction and sorrow knowing they had solved the case, but at the cost of a family's destruction. Lara Wachtro, the young woman involved with David, moved away from Tampa. The media attention and public scrutiny made it impossible for her to continue her life there. She relocated to Orlando, where she started over, working at another coffee shop and taking classes at a community college. Lara remained haunted by her connection to the case, but was determined to build a new life. Jordan Alarcon Perico, the father who had confronted David about the underground fighting ring, returned to his job as a construction worker. He focused on providing a stable life for his son, who was a student at Sunny Days Kindergarten. Jordan became more involved in his son's education and activities, ensuring his child was safe and happy. The staff and students at Sunny Days Kindergarten struggled to move on from the tragedy that had occurred on their playground. The school brought in counselors to help the children and teachers deal with their grief and fear. Over time, the laughter of children playing returned to the playground, but the memory of David Dane's murder lingered. The community of Tampa, while shocked by the events, rallied together. Local organizations held fundraisers to support the Dane children and increase awareness about domestic violence and the importance of mental health. Life slowly returned to a semblance of normalcy, but the lessons learned from the Dane case remained with everyone. The story of David Dane is a tragic reminder of the hidden complexities that can lurk behind seemingly perfect lives. His double life led to a violent end, leaving a lasting impact on his family and community. Laura Samuels was a 34-year-old marketing executive living in Sacramento, California. She worked at a big company called Bright Ideas Marketing. Laura was well known at work for her ambitious nature and drive to succeed. She balanced her busy job with a warm and friendly personality, which made her popular among her coworkers and friends. Laura loved outdoor activities, especially hiking and camping. She often took trips to Yosemite National Park and Lake Tahoe. She was also a member of a local book club, where she enjoyed discussing her favorite novels by the author Joyce Lehman. Laura's friends described her as kind-hearted and always ready to help others. She had a bright smile that could light up a room. In June 2010, Laura was planning a special camping trip with her family. She and her husband, Carl, along with their 2 children, Ponderosa, age 10, and Velveeta, age 8, were excited about their upcoming adventure. Laura had already packed their tent, sleeping bags, and food supplies. She had even bought new hiking boots from LL Bean for the trip. Laura's children were looking forward to roasting marshmallows and telling stories around the campfire. At work, Laura was expecting a big promotion. Her boss had hinted that she might become the new head of the marketing department. This promotion was a dream come true for Laura, who had worked hard for many years. She was excited about the future and looking forward to the new challenges and opportunities it would bring. Laura was also very close to her family. Her parents lived in nearby Vacaville and often visited to spend time with their grandchildren. Laura's sister, Emily, lived in Los Angeles, but they kept in touch regularly through phone calls and emails. Laura cherished these relationships and made sure to stay connected with her loved ones. In the days before her death, Laura was full of life and excitement. She was looking forward to the camping trip and the possibility of a promotion at work. Her friends and family remember her as a loving and caring person who always put others first. Laura's tragic death was a shocking and heartbreaking loss to everyone who knew her. On the morning of June 14, 2010, Carl Samuels woke up early to get ready for work. It was around 7:00 a.m., and the sun was shining brightly in Sacramento, California. Carl noticed that his wife, Laura, was not in bed. Thinking she might be in the kitchen, he went downstairs. To his horror, he found Laura's lifeless body in the living room. Laura had been beaten to death with a hairbrush. Her face was bruised, and there were signs of a struggle. Carl immediately called 911, his voice shaking as he tried to explain what he had found. He was in shock, unable to believe that his loving wife was gone. The 911 operator, calmly taking down details, dispatched police and emergency services to the Samuels home. Carl sat by Laura's body, tears streaming down his face, waiting for help to arrive. He felt a mix of grief, confusion, and disbelief. Emergency responders arrived within minutes. Paramedics confirmed that Laura was dead, and police officers quickly secured the area. Carl was visibly shaken and struggled to answer questions. He kept repeating how much he loved Laura and how he couldn't understand who would want to hurt her. The detectives noted his distress, but also kept in mind that in such cases, the spouse is often a person of interest. Outside, neighbors started to gather, curious about the police presence. The news quickly spread through the community. Local TV stations, such as KCRA3, began reporting on the incident, mentioning Laura's name and describing her as a well-liked member of the community. By late morning, the house was a hub of activity. Forensic experts arrived to collect more evidence. They dusted for fingerprints, took samples from the crime scene, and carefully bagged the hairbrush as evidence. Every detail was documented meticulously. As the day went on, the reality of Laura's death began to sink in for her friends and family. Calls and messages poured in, expressing shock and sorrow. The news of her death left everyone who knew her in a state of disbelief, trying to come to terms with the tragic loss of a beloved wife, mother, and friend. The Sacramento police responded quickly to the 911 call on June 14, 2010. Within minutes, officers and emergency responders arrived at the Samuels home. Detective Patricia Johnson and her partner, Detective Mark Hernandez, led the investigation. Detective Johnson, known for her sharp eye and dedication, and Detective Hernandez, famous for his thorough and careful work, immediately took charge. The crime scene was a disturbing sight. Laura Samuels lay on the living room floor, clearly beaten to death with a hairbrush found nearby. Blood was spattered on the carpet, and furniture was knocked over, showing signs of a violent struggle. The scene was otherwise clean, suggesting that the attacker might have tried to cover their tracks. The detectives began by securing the area to ensure no one could disturb the evidence. They carefully documented everything, taking photographs and making detailed notes. Forensic experts arrived shortly after to collect physical evidence. They dusted for fingerprints on the hairbrush, furniture, and door handles. They also took samples of blood and other potential DNA evidence from the scene. Detective Johnson spoke with Carl Samuels, who was visibly shaken and in tears. She asked him about the events leading up to the discovery of Laura's body. Carl explained that he had woken up early to get ready for work and found Laura in the living room. He had no idea who could have done this to her. While Johnson interviewed Carl, Detective Hernandez examined the rest of the house. He looked for any signs of forced entry, but found none. This suggested that Laura might have known her attacker and let them in. Hernandez noted the absence of defensive wounds on Laura's hands, which indicated she was caught off guard. Neighbors began to gather outside, watching the police activity. Some were interviewed by the detectives, but no one reported seeing anything unusual that morning. The community was shocked and scared, as Laura was well-liked and her death was a terrible blow to everyone who knew her. By noon, the detectives had collected all the evidence they could find. They bagged the hairbrush and other items for further analysis at the crime lab. The coroner arrived to take Laura's body for an autopsy, which would provide more details about the time and cause of death. Detective Johnson and Hernandez spent the rest of the day reviewing the evidence and planning their next steps. They knew they had a difficult case ahead of them, but were determined to find justice for Laura and her family. Carl Samuels, the husband of Laura Samuels, was the first suspect in the investigation. Carl was 37 years old and worked as a software developer. He was known to be intelligent, but also quite introverted, often spending more time with his computer than with people. Carl was a devoted husband, but in recent months he had become distant and stressed, which friends noticed. The police brought Carl in for questioning at the Sacramento Police Department on June 15, 2010. Detective Patricia Johnson and Detective Mark Hernandez led the interrogation. Carl appeared exhausted and heartbroken. His eyes were red from crying, and he seemed genuinely distraught over Laura's death. Detective Johnson started by asking Carl about his relationship with Laura. Carl explained that they had been married for 12 years and had 2 children, Ponderosa, age 10, and Velveeta, age 8. He admitted that their marriage had been strained lately due to their decision to participate in a wife swap sex fantasy. Carl had pushed Laura to participate in this fantasy with another couple, Jessica and Kenneth Planters. This obsession had caused tension between him and Laura. When asked about the night of Laura's death, Carl stated that he had been working late on a state government contract for his job at a well-known tech company, TechWave. He said he went to bed around midnight and didn't wake up until the next morning when he found Laura's body. His alibi was weak since he had been home alone during the time of the murder. Detective Hernandez asked Carl about his relationship with Jessica Planters. Carl admitted that he found Jessica attractive and that they had sex with each other many times, but he insisted that nothing that had nothing to do with the murder. He was visibly uncomfortable and kept fidgeting during this part of the questioning. The detectives noted Carl's stress and anxiety, but also his apparent grief. They asked him about any recent arguments with Laura. Carl mentioned that they had fought about the wife swap fantasy and his interest in sexual experimentation a few days before her death. Laura had been upset and told him she didn't want to participate anymore, which had frustrated Carl. Despite his emotional state, Carl cooperated fully with the police. He provided access to his phone and computer for further investigation. Detectives Johnson and Hernandez were cautious but still considered him a suspect. They needed more evidence to either confirm his involvement or clear him of suspicion. As the questioning concluded, Carl was allowed to go home but was instructed not to leave town. The detectives continued to gather information, knowing they had to explore all possible angles in the case to find the truth about who killed Laura Samuels. The second suspect in the investigation was Jessica Planters, a 32-year-old yoga instructor. Jessica was outgoing and charismatic, known for her sociable nature. She taught yoga at a popular studio in downtown Sacramento called Zen Flow Yoga. Many people in the community admired her free-spirited attitude and ability to connect with others. Jessica was part of the wife swap arrangement with Laura and Carl Samuels and her husband, Kenneth. She had developed an unhealthy obsession with Carl and had been trying to convince him to leave Laura for her. Detectives Patricia Johnson and Mark Hernandez brought Jessica in for questioning on June 16, 2010, at the Sacramento Police Department. Jessica arrived wearing casual yoga attire, looking calm and composed. Detective Johnson began by asking Jessica about her relationship with Carl. Jessica openly admitted that loved sexually experimenting with Carl and had strong feelings for him. She said she believed Carl felt the same way but was torn because of his marriage to Laura. When questioned about the night of Laura's death, Jessica claimed she was at home with her husband, Kenneth. She said they had watched a movie and gone to bed early. However, Detective Hernandez pointed out that there were no witnesses to confirm her alibi, making it weak. Jessica then talked about the wife swap arrangement. She explained that it was Carl's idea and that Laura had reluctantly agreed. Jessica saw it as a great opportunity to have sex with Carl. She admitted that she had been trying to convince Carl to leave Laura, but she denied any involvement in Laura's death. The detectives noticed that while Jessica was cooperative, she seemed to be hiding something. Her calm demeanor contrasted sharply with the seriousness of the situation. They pressed her about her obsession with Carl and whether it could have driven her to harm Laura. Jessica maintained her innocence, insisting she would never hurt anyone. During the interrogation, Jessica's phone records were examined. They revealed multiple calls and messages to Carl, including some sent on the night of the murder. This evidence raised further suspicion, as it showed Jessica's intense interest in Carl. Despite her cooperation, Jessica's obsession with Carl and her weak alibi made her a strong suspect. The detectives knew they needed more concrete evidence to either implicate or exonerate her. They continued to investigate her background, looking for any clues that could link her to Laura's murder. As the questioning ended, Jessica was allowed to leave but was instructed not to leave town. Detectives Johnson and Hernandez remained determined to uncover the truth, knowing that Jessica's possible involvement in the crime needed to be thoroughly explored. On June 18, 2010, 4 days after Laura Samuels' tragic death, new evidence emerged that gave the investigation a crucial breakthrough. That morning, it was cloudy and cool in Sacramento. Detective Patricia Johnson received a call from a neighbor, Mrs. Evelyn Turner, who lived 2 houses down from the Samuels home. Mrs. Turner mentioned she had found something unusual while walking her dog in a nearby park called Land Park. Mrs. Turner had noticed a discarded bag under a bush near a picnic area. Inside the bag, she found a pair of bloody gloves and a smartphone. She immediately called the police, and Detectives Johnson and Hernandez arrived at the scene within 30 minutes. They carefully collected the bag and its contents, placing them in evidence bags to avoid contamination. Back at the Sacramento Police Department, the detectives examined the new evidence. The bloody gloves were sent to the crime lab for DNA analysis. The smartphone, which was locked, was taken to the tech department to be unlocked and analyzed. Detective Hernandez noted the phone was a newer model, an iPhone 4, which had just been released a few weeks earlier. While waiting for the results, the detectives reviewed their notes on the case. The bloody gloves suggested the killer had tried to dispose of evidence far from the crime scene. The smartphone could potentially belong to the killer or someone connected to the crime. Later that afternoon, the crime lab called with the DNA results. The blood on the gloves matched Laura Samuels, but there was also another DNA profile on the inside of the gloves. The profile did not match Carl Samuels, which was a significant finding. The tech department also managed to unlock the smartphone. It was registered to Jessica Planters, the yoga instructor and second suspect. The detectives found numerous messages and call logs between Jessica and Carl, including some from the night of the murder. Additionally, there were messages that showed Jessica's increasing frustration and jealousy toward Laura. Detective Johnson and Hernandez were surprised by this new evidence. The messages revealed that Jessica had been trying to manipulate Carl into leading Laura, but her efforts had been unsuccessful. They now had a stronger case against Jessica, as the gloves and the smartphone linked her more directly to the crime. The detectives planned their next steps carefully. They knew they needed to bring Jessica back in for questioning with this new evidence. The case was starting to come together, but they still needed to ensure all details were thoroughly investigated. As the day ended, the detectives felt a renewed sense of purpose. The new evidence had provided a crucial lead, and they were determined to follow it to uncover the full truth behind Laura Samuels' murder. The third suspect in the investigation was Kenneth Planters, a 34-year-old personal trainer. Kenneth was known for his confidence and charm. He worked at a popular gym in Sacramento called Fit Life Gym, where he trained clients and participated in competitive sports. Kenneth was supportive of his wife Jessica's free-spirited nature and had participated in the wife swap arrangement with Laura and Carl Samuels. However, Kenneth had become increasingly jealous and suspicious. Detectives Patricia Johnson and Mark Hernandez brought Kenneth in for questioning on June 19, 2010. Kenneth arrived at the Sacramento Police Department wearing a Fit Life Gym t-shirt and jeans. He appeared nervous but tried to remain composed. Detective Johnson began by asking Kenneth about his relationship with Jessica. Kenneth explained that they had been married for 8 years and had a mostly happy marriage. However, he admitted that the wife swap arrangement had caused tension. Kenneth confessed that he had become uncomfortable with the arrangement, as he was developing feelings for Carl Samuels and felt left out. When asked about the night of Laura's murder, Kenneth claimed he was at home with Jessica. He said they had watched a movie, Iron Man 2, which had been released a few weeks earlier, and went to bed early. Kenneth's alibi was the same as Jessica's, but the detectives were skeptical due to the new evidence linking Jessica to the crime. Detective Hernandez questioned Kenneth about his feelings towards Laura. Kenneth stated that he liked Laura and had no reason to harm her. He seemed genuinely upset about Laura's death and insisted he had nothing to do with it. However, his jealousy and discomfort with the wife swap arrangement were noted by the detectives. The detectives then presented Kenneth with the new evidence, the bloody gloves and the smartphone found in Land Park. Kenneth was visibly shocked and denied any knowledge of the items. He insisted that he had no reason to hurt Laura and was being truthful about his whereabouts on the night of the murder. Despite his cooperation, Kenneth's weak alibi and growing jealousy made him a suspect. The detectives decided to keep a close eye on him while they continued to investigate Jessica. They believed that Kenneth might have more information about the crime and Jessica's involvement. As the questioning ended, Kenneth was allowed to leave, but was instructed not to leave town. Detectives Johnson and Hernandez were determined to uncover the full truth, knowing that the evidence was leading them closer to solving the case. On June 20, 2010, the Sacramento police made a breakthrough in the Laura Samuels case. After carefully examining all the evidence, they identified Jessica Planters as the murderer. Jessica, a 32-year-old yoga instructor, had developed an unhealthy obsession with Carl Samuels, Laura's husband. Jessica believed that if Laura were out of the picture, Carl would be with her. The detectives pieced together how Jessica went about killing Laura. On the night of June 13, 2010, Jessica had gone to the Samuels home. She knew Carl would be working late, and Laura would be alone. Using a hairbrush, she brutally beat Laura, ensuring there was no noise to alert the neighbors. Jessica then staged the scene to look like a struggle, hoping it would mislead the police. Jessica's motive was her deep obsession with Carl and her desire to replace Laura in his life. She thought eliminating Laura would make Carl choose her. Additionally, she wanted to frame her own husband, Kenneth, for the murder, ensuring both her romantic rival and unsatisfactory husband were out of the picture. On June 20, around 2:00 p.m., Detective Patricia Johnson and Detective Mark Hernandez went to Jessica's home to arrest her. The sky was overcast, reflecting the somber mood. Jessica was taken by surprise. She had been teaching a yoga class at Zen Flow Yoga when the detectives arrived. When they informed her of the arrest, Jessica initially tried to maintain her composure but soon broke down, crying and pleading her innocence. The police handcuffed Jessica and escorted her out of the studio. The news spread quickly, and local media, including KCRA3 and Fox 40, covered the arrest. The community was shocked as they watched Jessica, a once-admired yoga instructor, being taken away by the police. Laura's family reacted with a mix of relief and sorrow upon hearing of Jessica's arrest. Carl Samuels was devastated by the betrayal, realizing that someone he knew and trusted was responsible for his wife's death. He struggled to come to terms with the loss and the horrific manner in which it happened. Laura's children, Ponderosa and Velveeta, were too young to fully understand, but they sensed the gravity of the situation. As Jessica was taken to the Sacramento Police Department, the detectives felt a sense of accomplishment. They had successfully identified and apprehended the person responsible for Laura's brutal murder. However, they knew the case was far from over as they prepared for the upcoming trial. The trial of Jessica Planters began on September 15, 2010, in the Sacramento County Courthouse. The prosecution, led by District Attorney Lisa Kamabakuro, a 45-year-old known for her sharp legal mind and strong courtroom presence, presented a compelling case against Jessica. Kamabakuro argued that Jessica's obsession with Carl Samuels and her desire to eliminate Laura as a rival drove her to commit the murder. She detailed the evidence, including the bloody gloves and the smartphone found in Land Park, which connected Jessica to the crime scene. On the defense side, attorney Michael Rachmanoff, a 50-year-old with a reputation for taking on challenging cases, argued that Jessica was innocent and framed by someone else. Rachmanoff claimed that there was no direct evidence linking Jessica to the murder and that the police had not thoroughly investigated other potential suspects, including Kenneth Planters. He also suggested that the DNA evidence on the gloves could have been planted. During the trial, Laura Samuels' family sat in the courtroom, watching with heavy hearts. Carl Samuels, Laura's husband, appeared distraught, often holding back tears. Their children, Ponderosa and Velveeta, were not present, as they were too young to witness the trial's emotional intensity. Friends and community members who knew Laura described her as a loving mother and a dedicated professional, making the crime even more heartbreaking. The jury deliberated for 3 days. On September 25, 2010, they returned with a verdict. Jessica Planters was found guilty of first-degree murder. The courtroom was filled with a mix of relief and sorrow as the judge announced the verdict. Jessica showed little emotion, maintaining a stoic expression. Her plan to eliminate Laura and frame Kenneth had failed, and she now faced the consequences of her actions. During the sentencing phase, Laura's family members gave emotional statements. Carl spoke about the devastating impact of losing Laura and how it had affected their children. The judge sentenced Jessica Planters to life in prison without the possibility of parole. The sentence was seen as just by Laura's family, but it could never fully heal the pain of their loss. The verdict in sentencing had a profound effect on everyone involved. Laura's family felt a sense of closure, knowing that justice had been served. The community, shocked by the crime, began to heal, though the memory of Laura's tragic death lingered. Jessica's conviction sent a message that such a calculated and violent act would not go unpunished. As the trial concluded, those who knew Laura hoped to remember her for the vibrant and loving person she was, rather than the brutal way she was taken from them. After the trial, light slowly began to move on for everyone involved in the case. Carl Samuels, now a single father, focused on caring for his children, Ponderosa and Velveeta. He decided to move out of their Sacramento home, seeking a fresh start. They relocated to a smaller town nearby, where they could begin healing away from the painful memories. Carl took a leave of absence from his job at TechWave to spend more time with his children. He enrolled them in a new school and joined a support group for grieving spouses, finding solace in talking to others who had experienced similar losses. He also sought therapy for both himself and his children to help them cope with the trauma of losing Laura. Jessica Planters, now serving a life sentence without the possibility of parole, was transferred to the Central California Women's Facility in Chowchilla. In prison, she became isolated, with few visitors and little contact with the outside world. Her obsession with Carl and her misguided actions had led her to a life behind bars, far from the free-spirited yoga instructor she once was. Kenneth Planters, Jessica's husband, struggled to rebuild his life. He left Sacramento and moved to San Francisco, where he found a new job as a personal trainer at a different gym. He sought counseling to deal with his feelings of betrayal and confusion. Kenneth tried to move forward but remained deeply affected by the events and the realization that his wife was capable of such violence. In the years following the trial, those touched by Laura's life and tragic death worked to find peace and healing. While the pain of her loss remained, they found ways to move forward, carrying Laura's memory with them and striving to live their lives with the same warmth and determination she had shown.